is the upgrade to the Lily Pond water treatment plant and the F-250 Ford pickup truck.
Yes. Sorry, I don't have the ability to put my video on for some reason. So,
We're gonna
sorry.
fix that right now.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
We have materials on the F-250. We do not have, which is coming out of operating, I believe, and we do not have materials on the upgraded Lily Pond, so we're gonna have to see that early.
Okay, Chris.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. Chris Pratt, Chair of the Water.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear me?
Might be on our side.
Can you hear me?
Not really.
No,
Hold on one sec.
Can you hear me now?
While we figure out some IT, Chris, we're just gonna do one administrative thing.
Sure.
Okay, sorry about that. This is our new setup and we're getting,
Okay, so we have 2 sets of minutes.
we have 2 sets of minutes. One is from our last meeting on September 10th. And the other set is from the walkthrough, just because we posted publicly, I wanted to have a set of minutes to go with it. So has everybody had a chance to review any comments on the September 10th set?
I did review them. I did not have any specific comments.
Okay.
One thing I'd say is that, they're almost verbatim. It's almost like do we really want to do that kind of level of narrative? Or do you want to just hit the, what did we vote on the vote, and do you want to just, I'm not trying to say we should change everything, but
Yeah.
that seems like an enormous amount of just verbiage to describe everything that was said or considered during the meeting. I don't know, I
Yeah.
just see meeting minutes as being much more,
Succinct.
I don't know, spare.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway.
Leontina has been preparing them for us,
Yeah.
and so I can ask her to try and synthesize a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I can definitely make that request going forward, but I think having a third party do them has been helpful to our committee. to
definitely.
put off
Oh,
on
yeah.
it, so.
Very helpful.
All right, so I'll give her a quick heads up on that. Can I get make a motion to approve the minutes from September 10th, 2025?
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then I've got a set of minutes from September 19th at, which is the walkthrough. And again, Sarah, any comments? Okay.
So moved.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well,
Aye.
and Susan will abstain because she was not there. Okay, done. Chris, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
Better.
Can
better.
you hear me?
A little better?
Yeah, a lot better.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Again, Chris Pratt, thank you for having me. I'm the chair of the Water Commission. So we have a few things to present to you tonight. One is the fleet vehicle replacement, which we intend to make. Secondly, we have 3 articles before town meeting, and I can talk through those. Happy to answer any questions as I go through them. Please stop me if you'd like to interject any questions. But the first one is pretty simple. We are acquiring a new 2026 F-250, which is part of our fleet replacement program. We will be purchasing this vehicle out of our fiscal 26 operating budget, and So it's not, it will not be taken from retained earnings. We're not taking a loan. This is coming out of our operating budget. The total amount is $63,645.80. So again, this is a planned replacement of a fleet vehicle. It's actually an upgrade to what it's replacing because of the needs of the department. This is the first truck we'll have that has a lift gate, which we'll be utilizing for the transportation of chemicals and barrels for the plant operation.
What's happening to the old one, Chris? What's happening to the original?
We actually traded it in.
You traded it, okay. And you're going from what, F-150 to F-250?
No, the one that we actually got rid of was it was like a little Chevy, small. It wasn't even an F-150.
How did they move the chemicals in the past?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I just know this is one of the wants they've always had, and Jonathan at the plant brought it up to us, and we thought it was a good idea. So probably, with two-wheelers and dollies, and I think this might make it a little easier for them.
With the lift gate?
Yes.
Okay, got it. I mean, I took a quick look at what we spent over the last couple years on my favorite term, F whatevers. And I mean, obviously, some of it comes down to whether it's a 250, 350
Right.
and the add-ons, but it sort of fell in the range of what you would expect. It was actually on the lesser side versus what we just approved in terms of F-350 with additional stuff for DPW. So again, this is coming out of operating budget, and if I'm understanding the mechanism correctly, this is a vote that we record because it's a capital item under our charter, but it's not something that needs to go before a special town meeting because it's already coming out of a previously approved operating budget for FY26. So this is a formality, as it were.
Right.
Okay. So preference of the group, my hope tonight was that we could approve everything from water, assuming that we felt comfortable, so we can do it at the end, or we can do it as we go through. What would people's preference be?
I'd like to hear them. I usually like to hear the whole thing.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Then we'll hear all of them, Chris, and then we'll get a
Yeah.
vote and get you on your way.
sure.
Okay. All right. So for town meeting coming up, we've put forward 3 articles. All transfers from available retained earnings. The first one is to fund a new capital account, which will pay for the design and engineering of our new residuals management area. In other words, our sludge lagoons. So the current 2 sludge lagoons are undersized, not properly designed for today's plant operations and treatment process. They were built in the 70s and worked back then. They just don't work for what the plant and what the town needs now. So for the last 2 years or so, as we've evaluated what's needed, for the next 10 to 20 years for the town and for the water department, it's been determined that phase 1 of our large capital investments in the plant will be to renovate and upgrade our residuals management area, i.e. sludge lagoons. So this is a very big undertaking. It's going to require several millions of dollars of investment in the future. And it starts with proper design and engineering. So that process is underway now. We have worked with our contractor, Woodard & Kern, and their engineering team. We've done a basis of design report, which has been completed. That gave us a total scope of the project, that gave us an estimated total cost, and a basis of the design. So a starting point for the design. We then selected them after they gave us their proposal to do the full design. So what we're bringing before town meeting is simply a transfer from retained earnings to a new capital account to fund the cost of the engineering and design. The total cost of the engineering and design for 2 Woodard and Kern is $520,000. In order to get this process started, we allocated $100,000 from our legal and engineering budget, our current year's budget, to pay for any invoices that may come before this town meeting. So you'll see 2 similar articles. One is to authorize the transfer to fund the design, and then another to transfer from retained earnings to replenish the legal and engineering. So the total amount of the project to Woodard and Kern for design is $520,000. We've already funded $100,000 of that through our current operating budget. So the amount we're requesting for authorization for our new capital account is $420,000. The second article is to replenish our legal and engineering in the amount of $100,000. So before we kind of get into any of the particulars of the project, can I answer any questions on the actual town meeting articles and how the money is being transferred and funded? I know that was probably a little confusing, so I can answer any questions on that.
So if I'm following correctly, and we have a draft from Michelle and Tracy as of this afternoon, it looks like in Article 4, under capital improvements, there is the request for the $420,000 in the warrant. And then if I flip to Article 8, which is amendments to the operating budget under project number 7, I see replenishment of retained earnings, the legal and engineering, $100,000. So between that $100,000 there and the $420 coming out of capital, it covers the total $520 cost.
Correct. And when we were writing these articles, we had already encumbered the $100,000 from our operating budget. That's why we're doing it with these 2 separate articles and just basically transferring money and replenishing our operating budget.
Okay.
But yes, that's correct. The total amount to be funded is $520.
Okay. I mean, from a capital budget perspective, we don't typically vote Article 8. So we would just, I mean, from our perspective, we probably would just vote the Article 4, $420,000, and because we don't typically vote on the amendments to the operating budget as a
Okay.
committee charter, which just from a process perspective.
Okay.
We don't disagree about necessarily the total cost, it's just we don't necessarily.
Yeah, I just wanted to explain the whole sort of transaction.
Appreciate it.
What's the total project cost that they estimate to implement?
Yes, so from our basis of design report, we have, and I'll just kind of give it a summary level, $4 million for construction, 1.2 million for contingency, another close to $1.5 million in permitting, construction management, and engineering and bidding, which this 520 is included. And then taking an escalation of 8% for likely 2026, 2027 dollars. Our projected cost is 7.2 million. And if I'm able to share my screen, I can show you basically the schematic of what we're talking about. Michelle, do I have the ability to share?
Before you do, what is the timing of the construction that you're asking for?
So
I think it's likely.
we are expecting final design plans and specifications next summer, August of 2026. And if we can stick to the timeline and stick to the schedule and line up all the funding and the bidding process, we would expect to begin construction in November of 2026. So a little over a year from now. And then we would hope to finish construction a year later. So November 2027. So we would expect to begin incurring construction costs, somewhere about a year from now, a little over a year from now. So there's a lot to do in that time frame.
So
So
Chris, operationally, are you building the new lagoons in a different area and you continue to operate in the old ones and then switch over, or how does that look?
correct. Basically, we keep one lagoon available while we build the other two. So we will be expanding this area substantially. And going from 2 lagoons to 3. Can you see that screen?
Jim,
Coming up.
It just says that you've started the sharing.
Maybe take it down and try it again, Chris.
Okay.
Double click to enter, it says. I don't know whether that's us or them. Okay,
Oh, looks like I'm frozen. Can you hear me?
we can hear you, yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah, something's frozen here.
Chris, do you want to email it to me and I can share it?
Sure. Well, it looks like everything on my computer is frozen right now.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Let me try to
Oh, Kathy's here.
this is strange. Yeah, it looks like I'm locked up completely, except I can still speak to you, which is very strange. So I will, as soon as my computer starts responding, I will share that document. I apologize for that. But the scale and size of the area is expanding by about 4 times. So it will be a very substantial permitting process, and there will be a lot of site work involved. So it's going to be a large undertaking. But it has to be done, and it's phase 1 of our 20-year plan to upgrade the entire treatment plant. By doing this first, it gives the plant the ability to process the sludge at the rate they need to. The sludge is generated from all the particulate that's taken out of the water, and the majority of the sludge, believe it or not, is actually the chemicals that we add. It binds with any of the particulate that's in the water, so that's the majority of what's in the sludge is the chemical residue. They have to process the sludge more often, meaning they have to dewater it and get rid of it more frequently than we'd really like to, which is very labor intensive and very expensive. So by increasing the sludge storage capacity, it improves the overall treatment process. So phase 1 is to do these lagoons, and then phase 2 will be to either replace or expand the plant. So regardless of what we do with the plant, we need new sludge lagoons. That's why we're prioritizing this as phase 1.
Chris, this is just, we've heard about sludge removal for a long time, as you probably know. It seems a lot to quadruple the amount of sludge removal. And it always used to be a problem. Once you got it removed, what are you gonna do with it, right? How do you get rid of it? Has that all been factored in, that you're not increasing the amount of sludge, you're just being more efficient? Is that essentially correct?
We lost him. But Brian Joyce has the plan. He just texted. He's able to jump in. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, seems like Brian's good.
Good evening, everyone. Can you,
We lost Chris. Have you been able to follow along? Hopefully we'll be able to add him back in.
I'm a poor surrogate, but I'll try.
Yeah.
So I'll share the plan that he was trying to share. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
All right, so let me move you guys out of the way. All right.
Yeah, that'd be great, but can they hit see it?
So this is existing conditions, and it's a little faded, but you can see the two rectangular shapes in the middle at the bottom of the screen. That is the existing two sludge lagoons.
Yes,
So the one on the lower part of the page, close to the pond, that's where the sludge gets discharged into, and then the one on the upper side is now where we have a bag, dewatering bag, and then the product gets processed in the dewatering bag, and it takes almost a full year to dry out. The amount of sludge they're producing, really, this area is not big enough to handle the amount of sludge that we should be producing to, remove all of the organics and things that we take out with the treatment system. So I'll go to the next page, and this is factoring in. You can see the size of the two. I'll toggle back and forth a couple times. The size difference, we're going from 2 to 3, and then they're also bigger in size. So the two that are on the top of the page can be constructed while one of the existing lagoons remains in place. And then, when those get activated, the third one would be constructed. This is factoring in future flows that have been projected out. As Chris said before, I think Chris is back with us, 20 years, and also, a new upgraded treatment facility, whatever that's going to look like, this would be able to handle that system. But it is step one, and it's a real choke point for the treatment operators right now, with the water quality they have to treat.
So the expansion really is to cover the future as much as it is the present. Is that a proper statement?
Correct. Yeah, it's you're going to help in the present and sized for the future.
Okay. Is there any specific other regulatory thing that's going to come down the pike? It was PFAS for a while, right? Is anything else going to come down the pike, which in fact will add to this total build, which in fact would then be completely redoing the whole plant? Is there anything in the future that looks like it's another huge hit to the water department?
PFAS is still a big problem. I mean, nationally, that's a problem for all water districts, and continues to be, something for Cohasset as well. And just our raw water continues to be one of our challenges, the water that we're trying to treat. So that is not going to change. So the treatment process in our plant is going to need to keep up with what we're treating. And state and federal regulations continue to be a challenge. So, Ralph, I mean, the answer, I think, to your question is yes, there are going to be continued challenges in the future, and nothing is inexpensive when it comes to infrastructure and water treatment.
Were you in the $20 to $30 million range originally for those changes or not?
So the estimate that we've received about 3 years ago is a expansion of the treatment plant is 35 million, and a new plant is 65 million. So we are in for one of those types of investments sometime in the next 10 years.
So, the just. So I understand it. The water source is the same, right? So was this missized originally? I mean, we haven't gone up that much in volume, have we? Certainly not,
So the existing plant is, well, the original plant was, 1979, late 70s vintage. It's been upgraded, certain systems has been upgraded as we go, but the lagoons are that vintage and, treatment processes and, coagulants and really residuals have increased along with keeping up with the newer clean
so we're
water
taking out more, the
regulations.
flocculant, we're taking out more, of the stuff of the humic material that's in there then.
Right. So
Okay.
it's a higher treatment quality than in the 70s, but and none of the size of the tankage or really the holding areas has increased.
Right, so, but the amount of water that is being processed is the volume of, it's changed due to increased sprinklers, but that's about it, I guess, huh? So since the sprinklers went up, shouldn't have increased that much, it seems to me. I'm just wondering about the volume of material that you can handle is substantially more than it was. I'd say 100% more than before. Seems to me that between the additional size of each pond and the number of ponds, that so it's a curiosity as to why so much. Was it misdesigned originally, or just we just haven't kept up with things?
No, I think it's a combination of treatment, and these aren't just they aren't all in operation together. Basically, you have three systems. One is always drying out for a long period, and then the other two are, so it cycles through that process where one of these lagoons is always drying out and being emptied, and then that will become the first one on the subsequent year. The two lagoons is not enough solids handling, which is why they added, coagulants and also the dewatering bags. But it's the process has become onerous, and they're doing much more solids handling than they need to.
Well, I know it's always been a problem, and I don't mean to challenge you on that. I just is a curiosity, and it's something you will have to answer to at the town meeting, that's for sure. So one other question on that is that you've said that you're going to improve and change the basic processing of it. I wondered whether or not if you go to a different process like ozone handling or whatever, ozone treatment, does that change the need for these facilities, or is that something you're considering or have considered? Or in other words, does this lock us into a treatment process going forward that you may not want to keep, is what I'm asking. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, so I know what you're saying. So the ozone disinfection filtration is after, the removal of the heavy solids and organics. And this is really the first step of the process of the raw water, where it's adding coagulants, you get the floc, it settles out as the sludge, and then you remove that sludge. And then that water then gets treated with, ozone. In the future, we'll have some sort of PFAS system. But this is really the first step of the raw water.
So either way, okay, great, thank you.
And based on our raw water, it's not going to change the quality all that much.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions, or is the committee had heard enough? Kathy, I know you joined us about 7 o'clock, so hopefully you've been able to follow along.
Yes, thank you. I didn't see any background on this, or I didn't even see it in the agenda, so apologies. I'm not really sure what this is about, but I'm catching up.
Okay, so first item was, for water, just to recap for you, Kathy, so. There was materials for the F-250, which is coming out of operating budget, and I think before you joined, we covered that is. Although we vote on it because a capital item over $10,000, because it's coming out of operating budget, it doesn't need to go before special town meeting, so our vote tonight. Is procedural to allow them to purchase this capital item out of their operating budget for which they've already budgeted, and it's a replacement program for one of their fleet. And then the second one, which is in the warrant article, under Article 4. We did not have materials, but Chris and Brian have been good about walking us through, is the upgrade to the residuals area for Lily Pond and the planned expansion there. The total cost of the project is $520,000. $420,000 will be approved in Article 4 out of retained earnings, and $100,000 will be approved as a replacement of their budget out of water retained earnings for $100,000. So we're going to vote the 420 and not the 100, but the total project cost is $520.
Okay, great. Thank you, Katie.
So are we good to vote? Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna do two motions. Chris, just so I have the correct amount for the F-250, is that 62,283 and 80 cents? 63.
That is 63,645.80.
645.80. Okay. All right. 63, 645.80. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to have approval for the purchase of an F-250 out of the operating budget of the water department for $63,645.80.
So moved.
All in favor? We're gonna
Want
do,
a second on that?
yeah, I'll take a second.
Second.
We're gonna do a roll call since we have a member that's remote. We need to do a roll call. So all in favor, Rob,
I'm in favor, yes. Rob Casemeyer.
Ralph Dormitzer, aye.
Susan Franklin, I.
Katie Dugan, aye. Kathy?
Kathy Forrest, aye.
Thank you. Okay. 5-0. The second motion is going to be under Article 4 for approval of $420,000 out of water's retained earnings for the upgrade and expansion of the residuals management area at Lily Pond. Can someone move?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Rob?
Yes, Rob Casemeyer.
Ralph Dormitzer, aye.
Susan Franklin, I.
Katie Dugan, aye. Kathy?
Kathy Forrest, aye.
All right, thank you, guys. Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Chris, thank you. Thank you for your patience tonight as we got our technical going.
Yes. Yeah, likewise. Sorry about my computer
Yeah,
issue.
no worries.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Right, Brian, since you're already up there.
Let's
And you
stick
were next on
around.
the agenda. So I think the next item on the agenda is DPW trench drain replacement. And for the committee, there were two items that Brian provided us with, the funding form, which is Rob and Kathy, something that you'll see hopefully for all of our projects, which is just kind of a quick summary, answer some standard questions. And then we got the very detailed quote from EM Lofgren of all the details around trench drains. So Brian, I'll hand it over to you.
Right, thank you. So the DPW garage facility is approaching 40 years old, and the structure, most of the structure, especially the slab and that vintage, and there are French or trench drains in the floor, the middle of the floors of both the lower garage and the upper garage that are original. Just recently, underneath the grates, unforeseen, that the the concrete, the metal brackets or supports that are holding those drain covers and the concrete around it is corroded to the point where several of them aren't being supported. So it's become a tripping hazard, a hazard for vehicles, potentially hitting them, popping tires, or that type of thing. So this did come up. It wasn't on the capital forecast, but it's the total cost for replacement of both of those upper and lower garage drains. Yes, $42,332. And that would be to chip out all the concrete, remove those drains, and install new drains that are corrosion resistant, polymer concrete or fiberglass, and then new grate covers on top of them that lock in. So that's basically what this project is. And then it's going to connect into the existing drainage system. What these drains do is they collect all the runoff from the trucks. The trucks do get washed down, for salt. That all goes into the system. Any oils or greases or any of that stuff goes in here, and it goes into a holding tank underground outside of DPW, which is pumped out periodically as needed when it fills per DEP regulations.
So this doesn't go directly into the storm drain system. It goes into a holding tank because of the contaminants that are getting rinsed off in that particular garage area.
Correct, and that's typical of all garage maintenance garage construction. They have an oil water holding tank that gets pumped out and treated.
I can understand how in the lower garage where you got heavy equipment, where in fact you could understand a vehicle, if it was even close to that drain, might collapse, the drain cover or something of the sort. The upper garage has very light stuff in it. It does not have any heavy equipment at all. Is it really necessary to do both?
So, I mean, we're seeing the same. Obviously, the lower garage is getting all the heavy equipment. And both of these are HS20 loaded. But the upper garage is our tree and park garage. As you mentioned, it's a lot of mowers. The 350s might be the bigger trucks that go in there. Sometimes the Caterpillar goes in for storage in the winter storm. But we are seeing the same degradation, maybe not to the extent of the lower garage, but it's the same degradation where, if we're doing this, we figured we'd get both done and we don't have to worry about it again.
Could we do one and not the other?
Can you do one and not the other?
Yeah, without necessarily any specific harm being incurred.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's we could do one trench, tie that in. They're both manifolded into the piping underground out to the tank. So yeah, they could be separated into two independent projects, but in talking with Carl and the staff that work up there, they recommended both of them.
The reason I ask it is I continue to say to myself, we're not gonna have enough money for almost anything at this point. And I'm saying, where can we save? Where in fact, we absolutely have to do something. Where can we wait? Where in fact, it is not critical. In fact, it's probably not even in terrible condition. I'm not saying you have to do it that way, but I'm just asking, isn't it maybe time to cut back and say, what can we avoid doing these days if we can possibly do it?
Yeah, I mean, so we could look at, and I haven't compared the top and the lower one. I know the lower one is definitely worse.
I understand that.
But so if we were going to pick between the two, I'd say the lower garage, which is the 50 plus feet.
Come at it with perhaps the same intent, which is I have trouble dealing with these department requests when they're not sort of in aggregate and in cycle, just because I don't know what I'm competing against in terms of our limited resources. If we have $2 million or thereabouts to spend, I just don't know what else I'm trading off in this scenario. So I mean, if one is urgent, one is urgent. And I don't love splitting a project, but to Ralph's point, we don't know how tight our budget is going to be. We know it's going to be tight, but we also don't know what the sum total of all the spring annual town meeting requests are I think that's more what I'm struggling with is,
Sure, yeah, no, I get it. I'm just, let me see, 42. You know, it would take, and again, I'm just doing, I think we need to measure it a little bit soon, closer, but it would take, you know, 50 feet versus the 30 feet. It would probably take it down to about $27,000, maybe
Could
26.
you repeat that, please? I couldn't hear it.
So I just took the $42,332 and you know, it's 80 feet, but 50 feet of that would cost about $26,451, just a quick math. So if you wanted to reduce the price, I would suggest reducing it to somewhere around there, maybe $27,000, and we could take care of the lower garage.
And how long do you think it would be before the other part would need to be repaired? Are we postponing it for 6 months? Or are we postponing it for 6 years?
I wouldn't go for the long term. You know, I think we'd have to take a closer look at it. I wouldn't say 6 years, but it would probably last 6 months. You know, it would last us. I'm not really sure without looking at it in person. I'd have to look at it tomorrow with Carl again and see which ones are we'd pop all the grates and see which one. Somewhere there was a steel L bracket underneath holding these, where that bracket's completely corroded, and then the concrete underneath that had corroded and swallowed. So it's hard to say without popping it all up and looking and hitting it with the hammer and seeing where the hollow points might be.
I have a suggestion, since we're meeting again on Monday, that we just asked Brian to go back and do 2 things. One, take a real hard look at the condition of the upper garage and give us an estimate of like, if we're just going to defer it 6 to 9 months, and maybe we do both and forget about it, but give us an estimate on how long we're going to get out of that upper one. And then just do the actual math in terms of just replacing the lower, so that we could vote. If we decide to do that on Monday, we could vote a better number than what we're putting you on the spot for.
Sure, yeah, that's fair. I'll be there tomorrow morning.
Yeah. And I don't, do we feel like we need Brian back on Monday, or do you think if you got those 2 answers, we could deliberate and make a decision one way or another?
Just, if it's written down as a, decision making, great, that's all we need.
Yeah, I think Brian, if you want to
How
join.
long, yeah, if we left the upper garage, how long would we get out of it? But,
Yep.
not holding a gun, but, and then how much would just the lower garage be separated out from the 42,000 to change?
Great. Thank you, Brian.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
No. Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
Kathy?
No questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brian.
All right, well, have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
You too.
Michelle, just a question on sewer. I don't remember seeing the 72,000 for sewer on the last draft of the warrant.
Brian could speak to that.
Oh, sorry.
So it's a grant, and that's our match.
Okay, sorry. I was expecting Paul to come forward with that, or is that somebody from the sewer department to come forward?
Brian is managing the grant.
Okay. It's not on our agenda, so we can't talk about it.
It's still a waste of Monday, but Brian will speak to that.
Okay.
So he'll be before you again on Monday.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna add a vote for the trench drain and a sewer discussion to Monday's agenda. Okay. So onward, electric bus appropriation is next on the agenda. I'm happy to give the history, so that the new members of the committee who weren't here in the spring sort of understand the history behind the electric bus. So the electric bus was a pilot program that was put into place, back in 2022, at the behest of the schools, along with an alternative energy committee. At the time, at special town meeting 2022, $25,000 was appropriated for an electric bus lease. The contract happened to not be signed until the following May, which was May 2023, and we entered into a 5-year electric bus lease for a single electric bus plus a charger. So that agreement expires May 2028. At annual town meeting 2024, we appropriated another $7,000 to sort of top up the lease, because obviously we're sort of like off fiscal cycle at this point. And then this past year, we appropriated $25,000 for the full year of the electric bus lease. Since we've owned the electric bus, or since we've been leasing the electric bus in 2023, it has operated as a core route vehicle. So in the school transportation world, there's core routes and then there's athletic. And your core routes are the ones that get everybody to school and back. Your athletics has a seasonality to it. It all happens after the high school dismisses, and it can run Monday through the weekend. The electric bus is limited to a core route only. There have been issues along the way with the electric bus, which is part of the reason it was chosen to do a pilot, was to sort of really see if this would work for the community. The reality is that we have had charging issues that have sort of persisted. It is not the bus itself, but rather the charging station called the Juice Box, which is a level 3 charging station. To sort of compound the problems, Entel, who is the company that we lease from, their division, which managed or operated the Juice Box, the charging station, went out of business. So we had no ability to basically fix the charging station when it had issues. And then there were a couple times when the electric bus itself had some maintenance problems, and it was just slow to get resources from Entel. But the schools have used it as an asset. And when they approached us last cycle for annual town meeting 2025, the intent was to continue to use that asset for the balance of the lease, which is why we appropriated $25,000. Unfortunately, things came to a head in May and the charging station stopped working. And so the schools, in conjunction with the town, made the decision to terminate the lease for cause. We have an asset that we can't use as intended. So we're going through the lease termination process right now. What the schools are requesting from us, and the town is requesting from us, is that we made an appropriation for $25,000 to cover the electric bus. They are looking to have us reappropriate a portion of that, $22,682 to lease an additional diesel bus. So we have, just as background, a lease, an existing lease for 8 diesel buses. Last spring, this capital budget approved a 9th diesel bus to allow them to expand their core routes from 8 to 9. They are now asking us, because of the failure of the electric bus, to convert that electric bus lease for $25,000, which we approved at annual town meeting, to a diesel bus lease for $22,682. So that's sort of the sum total of the history.
Okay, and the termination for cause, was it accepted? Or the,
So we just have legal counsel drafting some additional language, because capital budget did put forth $57,000 initially for the lease period. To date, none of that has been spent. So if you appropriate this $22,000, there'll be a turn back to capital budget of $34,318 if they accept the terms that we put forth.
is there any reason to think they're not going to?
So I have a question,
Yeah.
just on the numbers of things.
Yes.
So we had 8 diesel.
Mhm.
And we added an additional diesel,
Correct.
and we added the additional diesel because,
Because the schools, well,
Well, we had an own bus.
we had an own bus that was no longer, so the typical
so we really had 9 buses.
we had 9 buses. Last year,
Okay,
we had 8 diesel plus the electric, and we had a own bus, the Bluebird, which was dead.
yeah,
In a normal operating model, you have enough to cover your routes,
which are 8,
which are 8 plus a spare.
yes.
They're now running this year running 9 core routes. And we have 9 buses, and the typical operating model includes a spare.
So.
We're not increasing, so
It seems like we're going from, what I'm wondering about is, are we going from 8 to 10?
no, we had 9,
We had 8 plus a Bluebird. Which wasn't working, that
Plus-
means 8. Doesn't it?
Well, at one point, the Bluebird was bought.
right,
When did
Mhm.
the Bluebird stop working? How long ago?
it wasn't operational last year,
Was it?
right,
Right,
Okay.
but the electric bus. was.
but the electric bus was,
I see, so the electric bus.
right. Was the 9th bus in the
was
fleet,
ninth bus. Yeah,
Yep.
so in order, so. And so we need we need 9 buses to operate a normal fleet, is what you're saying.
or normal core routes, yes.
A normal sort of-
Yep,
But we also spent a lot of time, talking last year about the athletic demands. Buses taking kids athletically, to events. And, now that we're they changed the format of who we play. We used to play people like in our general area, but now we're playing people in like Western Massachusetts.
I see,
So the demand on the buses,
right,
increased.
okay, all right, so. Hence, we're adding 2, really, but one is because. Of the additional demands that are on for athletic purposes, because otherwise
Well, that's one, but there's also been a greater demand of riders on the core program,
so we're going from,
use of the buses.
so we're going from 8 core routes to 9 core routes.
Okay,
Because of ridership, at the lower elementary levels,
I see,
so they have 9 core routes now.
okay,
But in terms of like what was approved at annual town meeting was 8 diesel buses for the existing lease, the electric bus lease for 25,000, and an additional diesel bus for $22,000 additional lease. So as of last town meeting, we had approved a fleet of 10 for the schools. What the schools are asking us to do is basically just swap,
Think it over.
change out the electric portion and switch it to a diesel.
Which will end up having 1 year longer than the current fleet.
Well, the
It'll go a
ninth,
year
the
longer.
9th and the 10th will be coterminous together.
Oh, okay.
Because we held 8 under one lease. They've entered into the 9th. We're proposing to enter into a 10th, but those 9th and 10th will be coterminous, so we'll have an 8 and 2 setup in terms of the
Mhm.
lease terminations. As much as we wanted the electric bus lease pilot to work, having a 10th diesel bus actually provides the school more operating flexibility because they can use it for both a core and they can use it for athletic and out of district routes. So it does offer them more operational flexibility, even if it's not as environmentally friendly theoretically.
No, it's okay.
You know what my thinking is? I've been
Yeah.
around a long time.
Yeah.
We have worked on 8 buses for years and years, much larger populations of schools, much larger. And I understand the addition of a core route to going to 9, but there is no way to escape the fact that it's really expanding the number of vehicles than what has been traditionally in this town. And in fact, if you even went with just 8 plus 1 good diesel bus, you're far better off than you were with 8 core routes, 8 good buses and 1 not really very good Bluebird bus, which is really what it was. So what we're really saying is we're expanding. And the schools can't afford what it's got now on a lot number of fronts. And we're just continuing to add and add, and because someone decided, well, we're gonna do 9 core routes. And yet years ago, that was not necessary and we had more kids. So I just, I look at it and I say, this is an expansion. It's an expansion by desire, but not absolutely by any compelling reason. It's desirable, and that's all it is, and yet they can't afford what they have now. I just look at it and I say, how much more are we gonna continue to do this kind of thing? We have done this with vehicles everywhere, and we continue to do it. Now we add another vehicle here, right? So now we have a van and an extra bus from the last town meeting, and now we're gonna add another bus at this town meeting.
We're not adding a bus at this town meeting.
You didn't really have operational use of the electric bus. You can read everything, I read everything that's been said about it. It was not something you could depend on or use. That really was what it came down to. So it sat around mostly.
Well, last year they had 8 routes
8
and,
routes is right.
right,
right.
and 8 diesel buses, and there were times at which
Well,
they were using the electric bus for one of those routes for the majority of.
Not on a reliable basis. Not on a reliable basis.
I'm just reporting what the schools told us when we went through the due diligence.
What they wrote, it was very different. Right.
This is Kathy, can I ask a question?
Yeah,
So the annual town meeting has approved so far 10 buses.
correct.
So if we don't approve this, we're basically reducing the number of buses that the school has. And we're going against what the town meeting voted for?
Yes.
Thank you.
And at this point, the schools will have 9 routes and 1 spare bus. In the past, we had a different tiered system because we had a different school start time. But when we were running that 3-tier route, we were running 3 tiers times 6. Back in the day, we had 3 spare buses. I mean, a lot has changed operationally, underlying why we have more buses than we did back then, because before we went to a single start time for Osgood and Deer Hill and a separate start time for the middle high school, we were able to run 6 routes times 3 school districts. When we decided to go to the single start time for Joseph Osgood and Deer Hill, and then the middle high school had more little kids, so we had to go from 6 times 3 to 8 times 2, so 8 core routes times 2. They've had increased ridership at the elementary levels after COVID, which is why they came forward and asked for a 9th route and that extra bus. But there are operational decisions. You're not wrong, Ralph. There are operational decisions the schools have made, especially around start times, that have changed the operational asset profile for the schools. You're not wrong there. And the athletics profile, to Susan's point, has changed. We're now playing people that are longer distances, and that means that they have to leave at 2 o'clock before the routes are done. The 4 routes are done at the lower elementary school levels, hence needing that spare bus to be able to get some of the athletics transportation going for longer distance competitors. So you're not wrong that there are operational decisions.
Yeah, and more sports and, it just adds and adds and adds, and yet they can't afford what they have now. So
Yeah.
I just look at it and I say, someone has to take a look at all of this and say, why are we continuing to add to things when in fact we can't afford what we have now? And they're in deficit right now. $1 million, was that what it was?
It was, I think 750,000. There are some persisting deficits, in athletics, as an example, in the revolving
Yeah.
accounts that there were, so.
I just look at it all and I say, okay, so you keep adding, but we can't afford what we have now. So I just look at it all and I say, this is not a good look right now. And that occurs at the town level, at the school level, everywhere. The town can't afford what it's got. It's really gotten absurd. So I'm saying I don't want to add anything more out of our budget if we absolutely don't have to. So I look at it. And it is not true that electric bus was a regular core bus. You can read everything they've said, and it wasn't a core bus. They couldn't depend on it. It was absolutely not something you could depend on. So if we had 10 buses, it was really 9 plus a quarter of one, and that's basically what it was. So anyhow, sorry to be, to rattle on about, how I feel about it. I just see expansion going on continuously, and we can't afford what we got now. So,
Well, I think sitting before our committee, we have a decision as to whether we're gonna honor what was appropriated to the schools in terms of 10 vehicles or not. And that would just require us approving the line item transfer of 22 from the electrical bus appropriation, the appropriation for the diesel bus of 22,682.
it's not quite so clear as that, as I see it. The reason the extra diesel bus was ordered in the original town meeting of last spring was in fact, they couldn't depend on the electric bus, but we had a lease on the electric bus, which required us, quite frankly, to continue to fund it until we did something about it. So the reality was, we had no real choice on the electric bus because we had a 5-year lease schedule. And that's what it was. And so we ordered a bus, another bus, a 9th bus, a diesel bus, to have a reliable second fallback bus. And the electric bus was there only because we had committed ourselves to 5 years.
I have a different take on it, Ralph, which is that the schools came forward and asked for a 9th bus so they could move from 8 to 9 core routes. And they were very firm when they came forward that operating without a spare bus is a problem for them. Because they can't just, even if they had 9 diesel buses and 9 routes and no spares, that's not a tenable situation for them.
I agree with that.
So hence, if we allowed them to go to 9 routes, we have to have 9 buses plus a spare. And that spare is not only to support when a bus is out of cycle because of maintenance, stuff does happen, not as often as it used to, but it's also needed for athletics. So I have a different view in that the operating model that they came forward was 9 routes plus a spare, and that's what we funded. We happen to have 8 existing leases and electric bus lease
I know.
existing.
I know that.
So just a slightly different take on that perspective. And the good news, guys, that we get to relitigate all this again come January. So, I mean, just to sort of summarize, like, we're gonna have to go through this conversation again, and the concerns about 9 core routes and the expansion is all valid.
Well, I go through it again in January just for my benefit. I'm a new guy.
Because we have to approve every year the
Oh.
leases,
All
so
right.
we get to every time there's a lease, we get to have the conversation.
Oh, good.
Exactly.
And we conceded a lot of money, quite frankly, as well, what you don't know. Used to be 90,000, what is it now? I have to look it up here, but it was a substantial increased benefit to the schools, and that's still not enough, right? So, a lot of things happened on that meeting. I just think it really feels like the town is just simply not looking at it in the whole picture and saying, we can't afford this kind of thing anymore. You have to start cutting back and understanding that we don't have the resources, or else you're gonna have to go out to the people and say, we're gonna charge either more fees, or we're gonna charge people an override, or whatever we're gonna do, and you're gonna get rejection at some point. So anyway, nothing I can do about it, but I don't like the sound of all of what's going on. I don't. People
Well-
are not paying attention to the fact they can't afford what they're doing.
Rob, I don't disagree with you that there needs to be a lot of a scrutiny as it relates to school operating budget and town operating budget this coming fiscal cycle, but I don't feel comfortable relitigating assets that we agreed to at annual town meeting, which is why I'm a proponent of making this line item transfer. So. Can are people, any more questions, Kathy, remote?
No questions from me.
I know that
I'm all set.
you're all set, okay.
So one more clarification.
Yeah.
Michelle, you said when we terminate the lease, they're going to return to us $54,000.
No, 34,000.
30.
Which is the,
And no, we have no other obligations to them once it's terminated.
so between special town meeting 2022, annual town meeting 2024, and annual town meeting 2025, we've appropriated 57,000. You subtract out the 222,682 that we're talking about doing a line item appropriation on, that will leave a balance of 34,318. Which will be reappropriated back to us.
So a year and a half.
Yes, a year and a
Yes.
half, a year and a half. So with no other questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve the line item transfer from the electric lease bus payment to the diesel lease bus payment of $22,682.
Can I suggest that you make it contingent on a successful
Litigation.
litigation, right? What if you don't? What if this company says, no, you owe us the other 3 years on that electric bus, right? Don't you really have to make it contingent?
We will have closure on that, hopefully by Monday, so if you wanna put it back on the agenda for Monday.
I think if you don't, you have to
I'm
make
happy
it
to
contingent.
provide you with the agreement that's.
Okay. That's fair, okay,
Sorry, then.
okay.
Just put it Monday.
Alright, we'll do a bunch of votes on Monday then. Okay. Good, thanks, guys. Alright, now on to the exciting stuff. So we've got 135 King Street and 62 Elm up next. I think perhaps we start with the construction bid updates and the updates in terms of the questions that you were able to answer. Kathy, I'm not sure that you have this, the answers to the questions. Okay.
I don't think I do.
Can I go summon real quick?
Yeah,
Kathy,
Kathy,
so you have
if you don't mind, Kathy, just if you've got access to your email, because it's a lot of your questions actually, that have been, the town has taken the time to go through and answer. Do you have access to email?
I do, yes.
Okay. Sorry, and this is real time for all of us here too, so it's not like we had seen these questions in advance either.
Kathy, is your Cohasset email address?
The Hotmail,
Yeah, use the Hotmail one, please. Thank you.
here. It's on all the email chains. Sorry.
I can get it. I can probably get into the other one. Let me just make sure.
Myself, it's, okay.
This is not, no,
This is.
This is not, this
Yeah,
is
just
hard
not
copy
handed out.
only.
No, just
None
for the
of
time.
us have seen it.
So you want to check this set.
Michelle, were you able to email that to me?
Well, Michelle, maybe we just start with a quick, construction bid update. I'm not sure whether Kathy or Rob sort of know the process for construction bids. You're the procurement expert, sort of, so walk us through what we did and what we got in terms of bids. That information is in the OneDrive, it's in the general log and the specific bid for the, one winning bidder.
Actually gonna promote our OPM to talk about the process, since they administered this process.
Good evening.
Hey, Dan.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yep.
So, this is a chapter 149 process, a chapter 149 process that is estimated to be larger than $10 million, requires the pre-qualification of all filed sub-bid trades and all general trades. In Massachusetts, we bid the file sub-trades. There are identified as 16 separate trades by the Inspector General's office that get bid 2 weeks prior to the general bids coming in, and the general contractors must select one from each of those file sub bids that affect your project. We received our file sub bids, and our file sub bids had come in under the estimate that we had expected, and we received 6 general bids 2 weeks later. The low bid being M. O'Connor at $18,987,000. And there were 5 other bids. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, the only other thing that I noticed was just, it looked like we had a lot more poll plans, in terms of the general log, and I guess I'd love your perspective. I think I counted something like 85 pulled plans and we had 6 bidders in the end. Is that?
So you had 85 pulled plans, but a lot of them are file sub bid trades. We received 3 bids in every single trade of the file sub bid trades, with the exception of elevators.
Okay.
So we actually did very well on the file sub bid trades. We got good coverage, and we most of them did bid. General contractor wise, getting 6 bids for a general contractor is good. So we were pretty pleased with it. Our estimate at the 50% construction drawing phase was 19,700,000. So we came in where we expected to come in, a little bit under where we expected to come in at 18,987,000.
I had a slightly different number in my head, 17 million something.
So that 17 million comes from what we're gonna ask for at town meeting.
Gotcha.
The actual estimates, on the CD came in at 19.5.
Okay.
Correct.
And by CD, you mean the CD drawings? Okay.
Construction documents.
Okay.
CD is an abbreviation for construction documents.
Guess wrong. Right, so it came in slightly under the 19.5 at 19 million essentially.
19.7 to 18.987.
Okay. All right. So I guess not good news, but not champagne news necessarily. All right, so that's the update on the construction bids. Perhaps we jump to just 62 Elm for a second,
Sure.
Which is one of the other questions that we had posed in terms of the documents that we had received before. It's shown a more broad evolution of 62 Elm, resulting in, I think, 7.5 million in costs. And now there's a new plan on the table.
Yes, so for 62 Elm Street, we did go through the schematic design process as well as the design development process. And we put it out to the estimators. The estimate came back at $7.7 million. We understand the pain of the new public safety 135 King Street project and the escalating costs associated with it. So what we did is we took 62 Elm Street, we took another look at it, and we're using the approach that we did with Town Hall. Is how do we renovate this in time within the capital budget threshold and actually achieve the same or similar result? So what we did is we took the same approach we did with Town Hall. We went through the estimate and we took things that were important in major systems such as HVAC, electrical, plumbing, that we know has to be done to have a functional fire station. The new look here, I don't know if everyone has a copy, but we're looking at about a $4.2 million cost versus the $7.7 million cost. And this is to be done over time, not to be done in one lump sum. So we would start, with the most important functional components of the building, which would be your HVAC, and your plumbing, and to get them at functional station.
What's the timeframe?
So this would start in probably 2028 when this project was completed. And we're looking to extend it over 5 years, if necessary, 3 years, if possible.
And that plan presumes that everything happens at 135 King as planned, fire plus
Correct, plus the annex.
fire plus police annex. You could delay doing changes to 62 Elm for fire under that scenario, as long as the annex remains.
Yeah, as long as we had an annex up here, we could start that in 2028, 62 Elm, that project.
I guess when I went through, and I know this document is, hot off the presses in terms of the thinking over the last week. A couple things that I noticed and just wanted to get the thought process behind. When I looked at the HVAC number for the bigger project, it was like a $1.4 million cost, and now that's been pared down to 800,000. I guess the thought process, it's the same building.
It's the same building. We engaged our facilities director, and we're going through a similar process now with Town Hall. We also went through the bidding process with Town Hall initially. We had similar bids, upwards of 1.8, $2.2 million for the Town Hall project. I'm in speaking with that vendor that's now redesigning the Town Hall HVAC, and is familiar with other town buildings, had indicated that an $800,000 price tag for the Elm Street property would be sufficient.
Okay. I assume the same sort of thought process on electrical, because that was it was a biggie of like 1.6 million, came down to 830.
Exactly
just
right.
Like,
Yeah.
okay. I guess the one question I did have about this approach of sort of slowly phasing it in. Are we at risk for triggering that 30% or any class 4 code or ADA with this? Because that's really one of the things that escalated prices at 135 King Street was tripping over that. Are we going to trip over something similar like that with this approach at Elm?
So the building's already a Schedule 4, a Class 4 building,
Okay,
so that, we don't have to worry about that. ADA.
Yeah, so we did include in here, you'll see that, some of the interior construction.
You want me to answer that question?
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
So a couple things are gonna need to happen, between now and 2028. The first is the assessors are gonna have to take another look at the building and reassess the building, because the 30% rule comes on the assessment. And the 30% rule is based on work in a 3-year period. So if you spread this out over 5 years or 3 years, you're gonna actually have money coming off the ledger as money's going on the ledger, so that you can stay within underneath the 30% to trip some of those code issues. It'll be monitored by your own building commissioner. But there's certainly a pathway to do it, based on the way that Elm Street's set up right now.
Well, what's its assessed value today?
It was obviously too low when we were doing a $7 million project. So I want to say it was $1 million or something like that. It was something really small.
Like town hall?
So
I think I had noted for 62 Elm, maybe 868,000 is what it's on the
books.
books for.
yeah, that sounds about right. And you couldn't replace that building for 868,000.
That's not gonna fly.
So I'm clear, I mean, obviously, the town can take action to have the assessor reassess as part of their cycle and increase theoretically the value, but I mean, just doing the math, have we backed into like what we have to get that assessed value to in order to not trigger the?
We've been working with the assessor,
Okay.
since this project came to light. They're aware that it needs to be reassessed, similar to town hall, because what we learned is that municipal buildings aren't reassessed annually. They're kind of a snapshot in time. So the assessor is looking at all of the town assets to bring them up to a truer value.
They're depreciated, that's what's happened. They've all been depreciated under normal accounting practices, that's what's happened. And it's gonna be hard to get around that.
But we do have some ADA modifications built into this as well, so.
Has anyone really done a code? Look, I don't know.
There was a code assessment done.
We did a code assessment during the project.
There was one.
It was by a professional.
Yeah, the designer, when we started down this project, it was always our intent to stop at DD for Elm Street. Because we wanted to get accurate numbers, and not knowing when we would be completed with 135 King Street. We wanted to, we didn't want to get into a situation where we were, throwing a dart at the wall, trying to figure out what the economy was going to do 2 or 3 years from now. The estimators did do their best guess on that with the 7.7. But we had always intended to go and get a bid on that project in FY 29. So that was the way we started down the path when we started the 2 projects together. It became clear that Cohasset was going to be doing probably 1 project at a time, and 135 King Street naturally has to go before Elm Street.
So the $4.2 million estimate now is today's dollars.
I'm just, okay. I'm struggling a little bit just because with a $4.2 million price tag, that means that divided that by 30%, that means we have to get the assessed value up to like 14 million.
That's right, it's just not realistic.
Yeah,
So,
But there are components built into this $4.2 million that will address most of the ADA compliance issues. And we can share that report with you,
okay,
so you'll have a better understanding of where the deficiencies are.
okay.
I think that would be helpful.
And just to clarify, the $4.2 million plan is for the total building, so it would include fire spaces, but it would also include the spaces where the police occupy today that would be repopulated
Right.
with Safe Harbor, IT, and some of the others.
That's correct.
Michelle, you had mentioned a collaborative grant that was a possibility in terms of offsetting some of the costs.
So, our planning department worked, on getting a grant, and what the grant is for is to find spaces for, community, I guess, coalition projects such as the food pantry, clothing exchange, things of that nature. And they've been looking to find a home for these organizations over a period of time. They've been unsuccessful in trying to locate a home for these organizations due to lack of systems in town. And what this grant does, it helps study a location where they could fit, and then also it allows some funding for placement of these organizations. We haven't really cited them in our plan yet. The grant just came out, so there's a lot to learn. But we did kind of float it as, maybe this is a possibility, maybe there'll be extra space and it'll be a home for them. We don't know if it'll work well with the fire department. We have to be mindful, that they are a public safety facility. So it may be difficult to have these organizations in that building. But it's something that we're looking at to explore. Because we've been asked to look at all options, so we're exploring everything.
I think the final question I had for you was for you, Chief Joffrey, in terms of this phase plan. What incremental space or what incremental functionality are you going to get out of this plan? I know the other one had more. This has less, but I guess I'm still looking to understand outside of your existing space today, which is tight. Are you getting more square feet, additional functionality under the revised plan?
Yeah, we're still keeping about the same functionality that we're gonna move into the police part of it. Okay, so, I mean, we're probably gonna be about the same. Michelle and I looked at the actual, what was the document?
Yes.
Estimate, we looked at the estimate document, and we went through and we saw some things that we don't need. So we cut that out. It was like some granite curbing, some parking stuff that we didn't need. So, and we also looked at the roof, correct? The roof can go through a different channel of pyramid,
Yeah.
pyramid.
That was a significant cost
Yeah.
savings. I think if you look at the estimate, I think the roof number came in at about $367,000. We received an estimate of $47,000. So it's almost the benefit of doing things piecemeal. It takes longer. Some costs will go up, some costs will come down.
One was the generator too.
Yeah.
There's a generator expense that was on that 7.7 that we don't need because we just replaced the generator at Elm Street. So that helped reduce the 7.7 to 4.2.
Gotcha.
So we're still gonna use the footprint.
Mm-hmm.
It's just some of the costs that were on that cost estimate report where we don't need.
Do you, I guess I'm like, now that I've toured 62 Elm, which I would highly recommend, Kathy, when you get back in town, I think it's very eye-opening. It's an essential to anybody that needs to understand this project. that interview room or any of the spaces that are right next to where the door is that that segregates you and police, are you gonna gain any of that space?
Yes,
Okay, I
Yeah.
just, explain to me how far it goes over, cause now I know there's you. There's the interview, everything room that the police uses,
Yep.
and then it starts to creep into some other police space, how far?
I think we were going to the interview room.
Okay,
So that's what our plan was, go to the interview room and just take, beyond the interview room was where the desk attendant sits.
yeah,
And that would be it. And then everything else, so you just draw a plane right through that building, would go to IT and Safe Harbor.
gotcha,
So that was the footprint that we take
gotcha.
of the police side right now.
And the interview room would be that training space and some of the stuff that you.
Conference room,
Conference
stuff
room,
we,
training
we,
space.
we don't have.
Yep. Okay. Alright, that's helpful,
And
thank you.
this gets the fitness equipment
Excuse me?
out of the bay? Does this get the fitness?
Yes,
equipment out?
yes, because we, when you took the tour, where the watch office was, that would now become where the fitness area is. Because we moved that office space over to the police side, and therefore the fitness equipment comes off the apparatus floor, and we don't need to get tetanus shots after we use the equipment.
So the police side is completely out of that building now.
If they come to here, 135 King Street, they're out.
Yeah.
And then, am I correct in understanding that the scary basement with where the decontamination is now? That's gonna move into the 2 bays?
In the police garage area,
Okay.
yep. This is perfect. Ventilation and storage for gear and to do decon, gross decon for both equipment and turnout gear.
Oh,
This
so
is
the
our-
will the turnout gear be there too?
Yep,
Because that'll get it out,
Yep.
that'll get some of the cancer concerns
Yep.
out of the apparatus bay and
Correct.
into there, okay?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So basically, under this new plan, you pick up in the building interior itself, through the interview room and the desk attendant, and then around the corner, the 2 bays at the back for the decon and turnout gear.
correct.
Got it, okay, in terms of the increased footprint. That's helpful. Other,
And I'd like to thank you all who had the opportunity to come and take the tour on Friday. We really appreciate that because then you can see how we operate on a daily basis out of that facility.
That was helpful.
that was very
That helps.
helpful.
Yep.
So I greatly appreciate that.
In terms of other new updates, I'm trying to think, I'm trying to go sort of mentally through, I mean, the highlights were the construction. The new plan for 62 Elm, and then, I think those were, at least for me, were the highlights, and then the last thing are the specific questions. Kathy, you had sent in a whole bunch of questions, plus I had gathered some follow-up from the other committee members. Michelle and the team have taken the time to go through and answer point by point. That's what you just got emailed, and that's what all of us have in front of us. Does the committee have a desire to sort of go through this now or read it and digest it?
Read it.
Okay. Why don't we read it? I think that makes more sense, but I do want to thank you guys for doing this. I mean, I think I know it's not nothing to go through and do this, but it really helps.
No, because there are a lot of hard questions that need to be asked, and we need to be able to answer. So it's a great starting point.
So during the emergency conditions when Len's organization moves up here, I guess. So one of the advantages of that is to have everybody in this area at the same time, but you're really gonna be over there, aren't you? So
No,
how is that gonna work?
well, the only thing is like, our normal day-to-day operation will run out of each building. It's just more for myself or the assistant chief or anyone, the command staff will be here with the police and with Glenn and emergency management.
Okay,
It's more for command staff. The day-to-day operational
Yeah.
staff really won't
it's
be,
where it is.
yeah, they'll be out handling the day-to-day emergencies
That's a,
during an event.
Great, okay.
We're out making sure we don't step on wires.
Correct, correct. It's more of a meeting place for us. And then also during a storm, we also get a liaison from National Grid comes in town. And then it has a place for that individual to kind of set up, small little workshop. Be on the hotline back to the mothership in Northborough or Brockton,
Yeah,
you know, so it will help out too with that.
great.
Michelle, I also want to thank you for following up about the sites that were looked at in
Mhm.
2023. Just so I understand the 585 Chief Justice Cushing, that's the old landscaping business. That's 7.6 acres. The town owns that, is that correct?
Town does own that.
Okay, I thought we bought that once upon a time.
did.
And then there were two other, one was a Crocker Lane, and then there was the other that was just identified by a parcel ID. I did go into the assessor's office and I couldn't find the address for that on CJC.
So it's Red Fox Lane.
It's Red
It's
Fox
right beside Stop and Shop.
Okay.
A lot of wetlands. I think you saw the report from our conservation agent.
Yeah. That was at 1 acre. Okay, that's where that was. I thought that's where it was. And then the other one is Crocker Lane.
So Crocker Lane is the MassDOT site.
Mhm.
Is the what?
The MassDOT site up by the
MassDOT
Cohasset
site.
Sports Complex.
Okay,
There was a period of time where they were talking about perhaps unloading a portion of that property. And the town engaged them in some negotiations. The site really wasn't big enough for us to do anything. The egress for the public's.
yeah, down a
Yeah,
hill.
Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't ideal.
I
In the
don't know
more
if
we
it's
learned about the
right.
property, it's a shared roadway.
Yeah.
with the big soccer event getting
Yeah.
out, yeah.
And all the metal
Bad
blocks
weather,
and-
Yeah.
I'm slip sliding
Yeah.
down. Like,
No.
We were trying to take a look at anything and everything that we
Yeah.
could grab along this corridor, and so that's what we came up with.
So 2 wetlands, 1 bad egress
Yeah.
is the sum total of that work.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I think the last thing that we had asked.
Well, yeah, let me, the only thing I'll tell you about 135 King, which is really quite an issue, I think, is that the runoff from that hill is substantial. It's a slope. And if you denude it in any way, it will result in a flood and potentially even that whole area moving. Now, what has been done in most cases is to create level areas at various levels, tier it, in other words, in order to prevent that. What do we own behind 135 Elm? How much do we own behind 135 Elm Street? Are we stuck with this steep slope?
I'm sorry, Ralph, did you mean King? I apologize.
135 King, what did I
King,
say?
okay, I thought-
No,
Sit down, sit down.
You said Elm.
I was like, wow, we're moving too.
No, hopefully not. 135 King, what in fact is owned behind that? In order for us to actually deal with what I consider to be a real serious problem, which is quite frankly, huge runoff. We got a 5-inch rainfall and you're gonna be flooded down. So the question is, what in fact do we own? And can that be flooded? And that can be tiered in any way, the way, all the other buildings have got tiers. This is the only one that doesn't have a tier. For example, you look at the medical office, it's tiered with
Tiered
Yeah.
parking.
parking lot,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You look at the other major building, or the storage facility, that's
Yeah.
also tiered.
We did talk about that. Dan,
Yeah.
do you want to weigh in on that?
So the slope in the back is tiered. The parking is not. If you look closely at the slope, you'll see two distinct rows of riprap and a level space in between them. The engineer that designed the stormwater for this facility, we do meet obviously the DEP stormwater. I think we got a waiver on some of the percentages on the Cohasset stormwater. But we are compliant with DEP. And he would not, he does nothing but public safety facilities. He would not design something that he thought would be a problem. He's a very, very, very conservative engineer. We did do a lot of geotech. We did do test pits. And they know what's in the ground, and they've designed the stabilization of the slope to deal with it.
Okay.
Okay?
I think the last thing that we wanted to talk through was we had asked questions about the. Now that we have sort of the fully loaded cost for 135 King Street. What the implications were in terms of either debt override or financing. And so Kathy, I emailed this to you. Before the meeting, not with much, probably half an hour before the meeting started at like 6, and we all have hard copies here. Michelle,
Do you walk through? Do you wanna walk through it?
look, I've been doing a lot of talking.
Okay.
Do you mind walking
Yep,
through it and
yep,
then
not a
I'll
problem.
pipe in?
Yep, so we received these this afternoon, Chris Senior. Acting as the finance director, put this table together.
Do you want to start here?
Oh, I can start that.
Yeah, let's do this one, and then the final
Okay.
conclusions.
So this sheet, we presented select board members with 4 different options. And option A was to move forward with the projects as presented. 135 King Street, as we all have heard about it, and 62 Elm Street with the estimated price of $7.7 million. Option B was to move forward with 135 King Street, abandon plans for 62 Elm Street based on the $7.7 million estimate, and completed over time through the capital process for operating funds. Option C was do nothing. And option D was to reject all bids, redesign, and go back out to bid. It was the select board's desire to move forward with option B, so that's what we're presenting, and that's what we're asking for a vote on is option. We've already talked about the plan of 62 Elm Street over time. Next, we can talk about the actual financing model for 135 King Street. Everyone knows that in 2023, we received $10.4 million. And that was to purchase this building and to renovate the building. Don't know, it's not enough money at the time, to do exactly what we thought we could do. So therefore, we have a purchase price of King Street on here at $2.4 million. The architect, engineering, and legal fees is $1.3 million. We have a records retention number in here of $277,000. Some may ask, what is that? And that is to digitize the police and fire records, so we can minimize storage needs within the buildings. We have an OPM cost in here of $110,000, which leaves us with a balance from the $10.4 million appropriation to $6.2 million. When we move forward and we calculate the construction bid and all the other costs associated with the bid, and deduct the $6.2 million, we have a town meeting ask of $18.3 million. When calculating the annual tax for a median household, the number that was used for the public safety building was the $18.3 million plus the $8 million, because we have a ban for the money that we spent thus far. But the $8 million, to give everyone a total picture of what it looks like, the only money that we spent was $2.4 million. That's the bonded amount. The other money that was spent is a ban. So therefore, to give you a full picture of what we're talking about, we're taking the $18.3 million, adding back in the $8 million for a total bond cost. When we do that, and at an assumed 4.5% rate, and this is for option B, for what we're looking at. For a median single family home, we're looking at about a $480 cost per year added to your taxes. If it was at a 4% rate, we're looking at $456 annually. The median median valuation that we're using is 1.157/100. And the amount that we're paying now on the $2.4 million is equal to $53.50. So that's what you're currently paying. So for a true picture, you're paying $53.50 plus the $480 or $456. We're not sure of the rating yet. And that would be your cost annually based on a median.
So 5350 for the bonded cost of the building, let's choose the lower number of 456. At 4% gets us to a total cost for the median house of $509 per year for 25 years.
That is correct.
Okay.
So what's Plan B?
Not actual Plan B.
This is
And-
Plan B,
Yeah.
the way they've
I
defined
think
it.
Ralph is saying, what is Plan B?
You're not
What is,
gonna-
what is the other Plan
This is a
B?
huge override. This
is
is
a-
an override, it's a ballot issue.
This is, yep, this is a
And
debt
you're just-
exclusion and it will go to the
It's like
ballot.
challenging the people and so. Your Plan B is that, I guess, nothing, right? What a way to handle this. This is really, I'm just shocked that. If you're not reading, maybe I'm not reading the tea leaves correctly, but I doubt very much that. Whether or not it passes town meeting, it'll never pass on a ballot. Not with the fourth override in 3 years or 2 years, for goodness sakes. People are gonna say what? And the town's still in deficit everywhere? People are gonna say, what's wrong here? So the reality is, it would have been better to figure out how do you make this happen? Actually, I'm in favor of doing something. But this way. You know, I don't understand the thinking. Yeah,
So, Ralph, I think I'll posit the question. If you had a Plan B, what would it be?
well, first you scale back what 135 King Street would be. I'm not saying to abandon it, scale it back, right? Number two, the town should absorb the cost. There should be a bond issue paid for by the town out of its operating budget. Then you'll get it passed. It will happen. That means that the taxpayers won't be faced with a fourth override in 2 years. And that's how everyone will look at it. And that's what you'll hear at town meeting. So I'm saying, do something that in fact is a Plan B, that in fact allows this to happen at some level. Don't abandon it. And don't have it just simply fail and have nothing. That makes no sense to me.
So let's say that we scale back we eliminate the fire annex, sorry, chief.
No.
Like, it's the known number. And so we go
Right.
from 18.8 minus 3.5 million down to 15 million. 15 million bonded over 25 years is like $1 million in interest and principal expense. So you're recommending that $1 million in interest and principal expense be paid for out of the existing tax levy, which would mean cutting school budget by $600,000 and the town budget by $300,000.
Well, the one cut you're talking about is perhaps the bays. I'm not even saying
No, I know, but I'm,
the bays are one thing, but I would say, why are we putting in another data center up on top for another $1 million, right? I mean, we're doing stuff, you say, what are we doing these things for? I don't know how many other things, if I really looked at it, I could say, why are we doing that? Why are we spending that kind of money? It doesn't have to be 15 million, maybe it can be 12 million, but whatever it is. If no one's looking at that and actually saying, what can we do, which would actually get this building done? Or get this project done in some way, but don't ask for an override, which is likely to fail. That's the wrong way to go. Or at least if you haven't set a Plan B, at least you can have something. This way we have nothing. I mean, I don't understand the thinking.
so I'm I'll just come out and say it, I'm not personally against a debt override. I actually think it is a mechanism that is easily understandable to the community in terms of like what the impact is to them. I don't see how we squeeze $1 million of operating savings out of our, I mean, choose a number, but it's gonna be big, whether it's 1 million, whether it's 800, I just don't see how we do that out of our operating budget, knowing I just got out of a pension expense meeting on Monday, where we're gonna have a $400,000, a 10% increase in pension expenses. We're probably facing this similar on healthcare, like literally healthcare and pension are going up at double-digit 10%. And then we're talking absorbing those and then cutting further into our school budget and our town operating budget. I just,
But foisting it off on the public. That's all that's going on here. Everything has been touched in the past 2 years. It said, move it to the public. The stabilization funds, move it to the public, let them pay for it, right? Long term, they're gonna pay for it forever, right? Well, there's roads and sidewalks, it'll be $1.5 million for the schools. It never goes away. It's not like other bond issues which go away. They stay in there forever. We also took in the $10.4 million, which we just appropriate. That went on to the public. We're talking about RTF. We're gonna put that on the public until we're gonna ask people to pay for it. We're gonna ask the school population to pay more for their fees. In other words, everything, the town can't cut its budget, but the public has to accept these increases, all of them. The public has to take those on. I mean, what about their budgets? What about the individuals who can't really afford all of this additional spending? Are we thinking about the people who have to pay for this?
so I think that everybody is obviously in a different financial position in town and everybody have a different view in terms of like what our community assets should look like. I hear you in terms of what you're asking for in terms of a plan B on scaling back 135 King Street. I struggle with the concept of then also asking for this to be incorporated within our operating tax levy as it exists today.
Except it always was. When we started with the schools, we had $2 million worth of debt, and the town paid for it, right? All of a sudden, we have no debt, but we can't afford to carry it. The town can't afford to carry any debt. The town has no debt. All the debt now is on the public. Look at it. That's what's happened. So something has dramatically changed in the financing of this town. Or in fact, if we had a major project, in fact, it was bonded, and the bonding would result in a slow decrease in the actual cost to the public. The public said, okay, but you're putting aside money, that money is available. No, it's not available, right? It never is. So what's happening now is no debt, but we can't accept any more debt. Why can't we accept it?
But
You know, it really is quite dramatic.
again, I think the acceptance of the debt has to do with how tight the operating budgets
The operating
are
budgets
relative to the
true
tax
that,
levy.
right? Just do that.
Um,
Adding people, right? I mean, no thought to the future whatsoever. And so now we're saying, okay, the only way we can do this is foist it off on the people.
And again, I think the people have to decide as to the quality of the operational assets we're giving our town employees and our community. I think I walked through that 62 Elm Street and was just struck by the deficiencies, particularly on the police side. It was staggering, it was jaw-dropping. So sustaining police operations at 62 Elm is just not, the do nothing doesn't sit right with me on that.
Well, that's the irony is that's the outcome of a failure. And I'm saying, don't let that be the outcome of a failure because you're forcing off the money on the public. It's got to be a way the town has to absorb debt. It has no debt. It should be absorbing debt. And I totally agree that in fact, I think Elm Street is not Elm Street is not an appropriate place anymore for the police. They ought to have a facility, and a complete facility. But I do not see that in fact, for the town to take nothing and absorb no debt, but say, no, the public can take this on. And then to follow up in the same darn town meeting with RTF, saying to everybody, well, I guess you're gonna have to pay more because you're gonna pay, because we're not gonna support the RTF ourselves. And on top of what you have done in the past 2003, where you in fact, by 2023, we actually added 3 more overrides. I mean, it's not gonna feel right to people. So we're saying, if you don't do something more creative than what I'm hearing, I see losing everything, not gaining anything, and we'll be back where we were with all the town buildings when we tried to do overrides for town buildings. They all fail until a practical solution comes along to the solution. And this does not sound as though anyone's thinking about that. They're only thinking about how do you get the money out of the people. That's it.
I beg to differ. Ralph,
Do you wanna, just for the record, so that our,
Paul Brady, Cushing Road, I'm sorry.
yeah, no worries.
Member of the select board. I beg to differ on that. Some I agree with you and some I don't. I think over the years, we're in a position where we're at and we have no one to blame but ourselves. And being a member of the select board, I can blame myself. I can blame past members of the select board. We've kicked the can down the road for a long period of time. We all agree the condition of Elm Street is horrific. So when you say that we're trying to foist it off on the public, we are the public, all of us. All residents here in Cohasset are the public. But we have a 74 study, 1974, recommending a change in police and fire on the corner of 3A and Sawyer. I don't know who was on the boards, but what happened there? Kicked down the road. We've got a 2016 study recommending the same thing. What happened there? What did the select board or what did Capital, any one of us that were serving the town, and each one of them deserves a round of thanks, but what happened? Nothing. Town hall. 3 different iterations, shot down. As a matter of fact, Ralph, we took some of your advice and ran with it. We didn't want to build up on the ledge, but we took 41, we broke it down into components. We're trying to find space outside, thinking outside the box, putting town employees over at Elm Street. So, to a degree, yes, the town has to absorb a hit. But I'm taking on debt, and it is not fun. I mean, embarrassed as hell, but now I explained this to this group with Gene, former chair, what happened with the $10.5 million. No one wants to come up in front of a committee with egg on face. Let me assure you of that. And nobody, mea culpa, likes to apologize for anything. But we were wrong, but we did it with the best intentions. So we brought these guys and everybody working on these committees has looked at Michelle Hisby, look at the stack of papers in our hand. Has worked her tail off and their tails off to try to find proper ways to fund these buildings that we need. We're just at a point in time right now where we have to do it. It's unfortunate, but we have no one to blame again, as I said, but ourselves. The town put the buildings in these conditions. We're trying to find a way out. It's tough being at an inflection point, but I just want to assure you, Ralph, that we have, and any advice is welcome and appreciated. As I said, with town hall, we're trying to pull that together, and hopefully that's going to come in and be something we all be proud of. But again, seeing the police station, the fire station that we're asking these guys to work in and work out of every day is an eye opener to see what our police and fire departments are working out of. And to me, you have a question?
No, I have a comment, but I'll wait.
No, please.
The issue here, he's not, I don't hear him say that this is a bad idea or a bad design.
I'm not saying, I appreciate what Ralph is saying.
What Ralph is saying, this is gonna be a tough upsell. I don't think anybody that saw the facilities can argue against it. I mean, this looks, all you have to do is look at a picture of the operation of Elm Street and a picture of the new facility in Hingham. And you say, this is what other people have invested in. And then a picture of this building. And say, what we're trying to do is not trying to do that, what we're trying to do is something that works here. And you know, the problem is, it's very painful to go through what the town has gone through with the town hall. And all the money that's gone into the design and the efforts to do that and have it voted down each time because, you know, they're not prepared for it. They don't want to pay that money and we didn't maybe make the arguments well enough. It's just awfully painful to go through that. I think that's what, and in this case, I think what you're hearing on this side is, what I'm hearing is that this is a facility that this is a must do, not a desired. It's a must to improve the facility that we have for basic health and safety, if you will, you know, which is fire and police. So the question is, you know, how do you put that argument across effectively to the town, because it would be too bad to lose it. And what Ralph is saying is that this is one thing, but you've got several others that also have to be done. So how do we do these things?
Well, we do one of the things we could do is, and Ralph being on the select board, and I respect that, is we could do a huge ask at some point in time, you know, for new schools. But we didn't do all that. We didn't do a large capital plan, and that's all of us. That's historically speaking, not just this board. That's boards prior to the board I serve on, prior to the board Ralph served on, prior to the board, anyone that served on the board. As I said, I bounce back to that being our fault. If we've done a huge capital outlay, we would be in this position maybe. But then again, at some point in time, you've got to pay the piper. Now Ralph, and again, he was part of the Roads and Sidewalks Committee we created. And thank you. I mean that. I understand that it was no variety, as small as they are, but you know, I'd like to think that the town's seeing the fruit of their own labor by contributing to that fund. We're seeing sidewalks, we're seeing roads, we're seeing parks, we're seeing playgrounds. It is time that we have to take the hit. Again, it's not pleasant, it's not fun. But let's bounce back to a building that these guys have been living out of for 62 bloody years that we've done nothing for. Over the years, $1.8 million in infrastructural changes. What's that average out to a year? About $45,000, $48,000? No, it's not fun. And again, and coming for you guys, and I don't want to be speaking, but it does mean a lot to me personally. To see, you know, what our police and fire and safety personnel, what they do on a daily basis. And they're not asking for much. They never have. And so it's time for the town, to me, again, a central location. He's God forbid, my daughter falls down up in the field, up at Milliken, or any one of our kids or loved ones falls down and gets hurt. Anything that would slow down the progress of getting her back in shape, or getting her the help she needed. A gentleman spoke last night about when he had a heart attack. They said seconds would have contributed, all right, to further damage happening to him. Thank God he was all right. But these guys got there. You know, we've grown. You know, we're not just a coastal community anymore. You reach further back into the Beechwood area and areas like that that have been settled for many. But that's where I'm getting at. Again, I agree with you. Nobody, it's not fun, and nobody wants that ask. But we do have to prioritize. I think in the shape we're in right now, we're gonna have to attack them as they come. I don't understand how we're gonna get at a huge, gigantic capital outlay plan, since we've been nipping away at it over years. But we are at a point where we're starting to have to pay the piper.
I don't agree, I don't disagree with you. Okay, that's the interesting thing. I'm just saying, what are you gonna do if it doesn't pass?
Right.
What are you gonna do? And that's a higher probability than anything else. And it's the worst thing to have happen. And that's what I'm telling you. That's not what you want to have happen.
I agree.
So that's why I say Plan B without being facetious. I'm just trying to tell you, some thought has to go into what do you do if in fact it doesn't pass? What do you do? Are you gonna abandon it? Are you gonna do something like cutting it back to make it possible to have it? And shouldn't you do that in advance? I mean,
I guess,
I'm just asking the
No, I-
obvious questions on.
But I
I've
can
been
answer- I
through
can
this for
answer some
too
of those.
long, Paul. You know it.
I agree with you. I can answer that
Forever.
right off
I
the
know, I
bat.
can read the people as well as you can read the people, right? And I can say, they're not gonna like this enough. Maybe they do a town meeting because the boards will maybe allow it to get through, right? The boards often do. It's a 2/3 vote to start with, okay? Second, you have to run it through a 50% ballot initiative, right? So this is not trivial I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you have no other plan, are you dropping it completely? When in fact, most of us think we ought to do something?
no, I 100% hear you, Ralph. I
For
just-
years, right. For years I've been doing this, saying the same thing,
I-
you know.
I'm just,
sorry.
no, but I'm just struggling. Unlike town hall, that we could whittle back to a $4 million project that, thank God, fits into our capital stabilization. And now locks us in very tightly around what we have to spend on everything else. I'm not seeing a path to cutting 135 King back to a level that we could incorporate in and absorb 100%. I mean, maybe if you still relied on the 8 million and the previous override pass. But still, you're gonna have to get like 10 million. It's just not making sense to me on how we can right size 135 King enough to incorporate into absorbing it into the operating budget debt level. So I think we're back to a debt override, but to your point, do you think even a smaller debt override is possible?
Without an attempt for the town to take on debt, a substantial amount of debt as it has in the past, without that. Without a sincere attempt to do. I don't see why people would accept the override. At this time, I don't think so.
But am I misunderstanding that like taking on sincere attempt to take on that debt means cutting operating budgets?
Of course it does.
Okay,
Of
all right,
course
that's
it does.
No, I just wanna be clear to what we're saying.
Exactly.
Okay,
Operating budgets have to be examined.
okay.
Remember,
So
we
Could the
could-
town take on some debt and then the rest of it be,
They could.
With the King Cup operate.
we do it that way, hybrid?
Well, I think, yeah, possibly. Let me say where's money going? We've spent millions on consultants, and we have a consultant for absolutely everything we do. And everyone's 50, 100,000, million and a half, whatever it is, I can name them all, Bob. Where's the money gone? It's gone to huge numbers of consultants for projects that ultimately don't get done. We continue to do that. I can't say that's gonna get you $1 million a year, I don't know. But the point is that we are not taking a serious look at why our operating budget cannot absorb any debt. Why can't it absorb any debt?
Okay.
That's it.
So I sort of hear you that your plan B is a 3-prong approach. Continue to whittle 135 King Street
Yeah.
if possible.
Right.
Plus look at making operating budget cuts to accommodate
Some amount of debt.
some amount of debt.
Right.
Plus residual increase in the debt override.
Well, where do we see cuts in the operating budget? I mean, we're stretched. That's it. I'm just asking here.
I'm
If I knew
positive,
No,
I
I'm not.
hear you and I posit that question. I
It's-
think
So
that,
it's just something to think about. I'm not asking you, looking for an answer. And it's to whittling the building down. I'm gonna stand just in public. I disagree with it wholeheartedly. It's already been whittled down. It started out 38, 36, we're down to 2, 30.
Now, it's at 30 now.
30, I keep going, I'm sorry, now we're at 31.
No, we're 20.
33.
We started at 30,
30,
now we're down to 20.
30, now we're down to 23, 3 different iterations. I apologize, I'm having a senior moment. But, so we're down, and it's been brought down is to bare bones. Granted, you throw everything against a wall. And then you start pulling off, but these guys are pulling off. Even what didn't stick, and they're pulling off what did stick. And also, we have to think ahead. We're building a building, not just for today, but for tomorrow, for the next 50 years. We said it last night. We should have built it in 1974. We should have built it in 2016. So hopefully, we're backdating a building. This building's gonna last for the next 50 or 60 years.
Those 2 prior years, we didn't have Avalon, so you didn't have to worry about all the police and fire activities that are right up the hill there.
Down the
Yeah, we
street,
didn't have
we
a
didn't
vote.
have Sunrise, Evo.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
didn't have Sunrise, you didn't
That's right.
have.
We didn't have
So
all
there
the
was no need
development
for it
in
in those years, is what my point is. In 74, we were building the reservoir, so, obviously you're not gonna be building this facility or we were doing other stuff. And by the way, that went into the town, paid for that with, I assume with debt from the town.
No, no, I don't think so. Probably it was an enterprise fund at that time, right?
It wasn't an enterprise.
It wasn't an enterprise fund at that time.
So, I don't think so. I don't know.
It certainly was paid for by.
Enterprise was
by-
made enterprise
It
fund.
was a fee based, anyway, the fees paid for it. In other words, it was a different way to fund something like that. In other words, those have always been fee based projects. So that you pay it out of what you use in that case.
You're the revenue that you're generating from it.
Exactly.
So we did that well, that's a separate issue, sorry.
But this is not revenue generating. This is-
No.
But after this, I'll keep my big mouth shut, and I apologize for going on.
No, it's
But,
fine.
Wait, I would tell you, I'm trying to figure out how to make it happen, not have it.
And
We grant-
I
understand though, I'm
appreciate
trying
that.
to say,
I'm just speaking to
right?
this board favorably, is that we have to, when no one's, in the board, we're open, everybody's open to working together, right? To getting this thing through.
Got 2 months to
It's-
figure it
it's
out.
coming- If we come at
Your
it
time.
united.
Yeah.
The town goes along with that for the most part. No one's trying to sell them a soft soap. And no one's trying to sell them a bill of goods. If we come at it with an approach as, or is there a disagreement? Then we sow confusion. We know that. We've seen that at an extension at town hall. We've seen that at other things that threw monkey wrench into a number of projects. Ralph, you were spot on when we brought up the enterprise fund the last town meeting. Okay, because it wasn't presented the way it should have been presented. And hopefully steps are being taken, and we're doing that to fully vet it with the public, if it's something the public approves of. But something like this, I'm not seeing that the public, I hope, would not want to preserve life, limb, and safety, not only for our departments, but for their families. And that's it. It is a presentation. Why do you think that we're going full bore on forums and programs
I
and
understand.
getting it out? But we all know, guys, how many people actually show up to them? So it's word of mouth. It's telling people, nobody likes any sort of increase.
Well, it's the half hour before I got here tonight, I heard from a good friend that in fact, the cost was going to be $30 million, not 20, not 18 or 19 million. That it had gone up. And I said, not that I saw as far as I know, but it's the presentation of the information is very, very important. It's going to be very important at the town meeting. Because otherwise you'll lose.
I think if we found got to 30 million, we wouldn't be in this room with you now. So,
Yeah.
But again, and Ralph, I do respect everything you're saying. It's just that I think that we as a town have put ourselves here. And we've got to find the best way to take care of our own.
Ralph, you posited a question around the sincere attempt to, sincere attempt by the town to take on debt, what would that look like? And I think that. I mean,
Yeah,
personally, I think if we're going to flush that out, I think we need to sort of ask the question, if we wanted to accommodate $1 million in interest expense within the town's existing tax levy, what would that mean in terms of budget cuts to schools and the town departments? Because I don't think, I mean, there are opinions out there that should fall 100% on the town, but the town budget is $14 or $15 million. You can't take $1 million out of that. It's gonna have to fall on the schools, and it's gonna have to fall on the town, and it's going to have to incorporate in the known increases that we can't dodge, like pensions and healthcare. And so I think that's just, it's a good question, but I think it's a really painful exercise, and I think we need to sort of sketch out what that would mean in terms of like, here's what the schools are gonna have to take as a cut, and here's what the town is gonna have to take as a cut in that scenario. And I don't know if there's appetite for that. I think once you start talking cutting the school budget, you have a different set of pitchforks. So I think we're in a tough place, that people either are gonna have to cut their school budgets to avoid a debt override, or they're going to have to think about doing a debt override to preserve the schools and build a public safety building that we need. I think we're all saying the same thing in terms of like, we need a public safety building, which is the sad thing here. But you're not wrong. There's a lot of concern.
Well, the other challenge that I thought I heard Ralph talk about was, are there, can this 18.9 or 19 million be shrunk so that more than it has been? I know a lot has gone into this, but are there areas that can be added later on as in an expansion type of a program, can be done in a you know, next phase or something like that, or is that just kicking it down the road? I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure there are plenty of things. Plenty of things. The most obvious ones I told you, but they're the ones that are so obvious. Another data center, I mean, for heaven's sakes.
Where did you see that in the number?
Oh,
It's in the,
It's $1 million. But, I mean, for heaven's sake.
so it's in construction costs. Ralph was just saying, if you go back to the construction
Yeah, I know,
documents.
And I could go back and I could probably pick out a dozen things that were really just make no sense to me. And certainly that one stands out as also obvious, right?
But the mezzanine in general is a useless space in this building, unfortunately. It's the 1,800 square feet on the third floor is useless except for mechanicals. They can't house humans, that we know.
that's correct.
Could I point out, just going back to the discussion that Rob had with someone who said it was going to be 30 million? It is going to be 30 million when I add up all the costs,
Yeah,
the purchase price and everything. The total cost of this public facility building is about 29 million. So that's not an incorrect fact that somebody was giving you. That's a correct fact. The 18 million comes from the fact that there was already 10 million appropriated for it. So this is an additional on top of the 10 million.
No, you're right, Kathy.
I think probably that's not even the floor. That's just. There's more, furniture and fixtures, and when you get
It's
through
actually
the
down here.
million or two. No, I saw. I mean, I've been through all that before. I've seen it before. That's the beginning of the numbers. But anyway.
Well, I would disagree in the sense that the construction numbers are the best we've ever had. Like, we actually have real numbers, like there is a contractor who is willing to do this building for 8.9. We have never been in a position as a community have a solid number. Now, you could be right that some of the others that are below that on this spreadsheet are not as firm. but the 18.9, which is the big nut, is the one that we know for sure, and, we can debate whether we should have gotten this far in the process or not, but like, the reality is that we have all lived the process where we have estimates and then estimates don't translate into actual construction
Mhm.
costs. Now we actually have construction costs that we can take to the bank or not, literally. So there is, I don't want to sound too rosy, but this isn't a project where we're still hoping and guessing that we got the right number. We have a number in terms of construction. Okay, I think, Kathy, is there anything else on your end? I know you're remote, it's a hard.
I mean, I have a concern, which maybe you could tell from the questions. More square footage is more operating costs, right? And I realize that 62 Elm Street is not the appropriate square footage for the police and fire station. So we do need to add on more square footage for public safety. But I'm concerned that the amount of square footage we're adding, we're not reducing the footprint of 62 Elm Street at all. Like it will just generate more operating costs. It's just the way things work, right? You have a facility, you have more utility costs, you have more custodial costs, more DPW costs. So I am concerned about the overall public safety footprint being so large, and how can we try to scale it down either at 135 King or 62 Elm, because I just worry that it means that in coming years, it'll be more pressure on the operating budget. So it's just something to think about.
I'm not sure whether you caught this, Kathy, but at 62 Elm, we are reducing the public safety footprint at 62 Elm because a portion of it's going to be used by town departments and others. Obviously the building square footage remains the same, but the public safety square footage is only increasing by the interview room plus one other small office. But to your point, like the operating cost of that building. Although putting in a more efficient HVAC might actually help with some utility costs. But your concern is not necessarily headcount in terms of operating budget, but rather just the more square feet equals more maintenance and more utility.
Well, we've already seen with the proposal that they're putting town departments into 62 Elm Street. So now the town is kind of expanding into the space that they have.
Only because the town doesn't have places to house, Safe Harbor is in the attic of the library with no safe fire egress. So we're actually housing people in a place that's not dare say it code.
Is Safe Harbor now a town department? I thought it was a nonprofit.
It is a town department that is funded through a grant.
Okay.
IT, I don't know if you want to, why the decision to move IT out of the basement?
Basement. Also, non-code, no two egresses for them. So we're taking them out of the basement and moving them to another location. We've also heard lately that their school, they're looking for additional space and they may not be able to work out of the school. They'll have a small office there, but the area where they work on the computers, they'll have to do elsewhere.
So we have two departments that are, I guess, sub-housed in terms of code that we're looking to move out of those spaces. I mean, part of that is, from my opinion, we chose a path with town hall to basically renovate our existing, and renovating the existing had some limitations in terms of departments. We've got buildings and inspections here at 135 right now. We've got our detectives up where some of our departments are fragmented. Maybe you can talk about where buildings and inspections is gonna go once 135 King becomes only public safety.
So when this building is only, if this becomes only public safety, the permits and inspections will move back to town hall because at that point in time, the historic portion will be sprinklered and,
The second floor, okay,
and
gotcha. So that's just a short term.
Yeah.
Option, and you
so we're
will,
just waiting for occupancy of that,
Gotcha.
once the sprinklers.
Okay.
So we're not thinking there's going to be any increase in operating costs as a result of increasing the square footage this way?
I think we're just shuffling people
I
around.
think if I just, I'm gonna assume there may be because it's a new building. But I'm failing to understand where you're trying to go with that, if you don't mind me asking.
I'm
Within-
just saying, I'm kind of, I guess, supporting Rob and Ralph and saying that, you know, maybe we need to scale down a little bit and reduce the square footage because you know, not only is the cost of the building really high, but the ongoing cost is going to be high too. And we're not even talking about that.
Like. We talked about Situate last night, for instance, all right, they built their, whatever they cost. Situate is now going back to the drawing board for $200,000 study, just on lockers. Because they didn't build it right. So just a study. So they're gonna be doing some more construction at some point in time. They also had to build an ancillary building out back for future storage. We're trying to eliminate that. I think we all are, is to bring the footprint down. I think we said that. It's gone from 30,000 down to 23,600. So, yes, it has been shaved. And Dan?
Yep.
You still with us?
I am still with you.
All right, so if we were to shave any more off the building, what are we saving? I want to answer, I don't know this, okay.
You don't save one for one. It's not a one for one saving. For example, if we took the last bay out of the police station, you still have to build the same two walls. You're not saving. You're saving the floor slab, and you're saving a door, and you're saving the cost to heat that space. So I mean, you'd have to identify what in the program you want to eliminate. When we started this program, we were at 30,335 square feet, and it was clear it was too big. When we did our first pass at it, we got to 28,300 feet, and we still thought it was too big. At 23,600, I honestly don't know where else we can cut without affecting the operations of the police station. The additions need to be there. Obviously, for the fire station, you need the bays. Around the bays are fire operations. On the top floor of the fire station, all the mechanicals for the building, so they can be accessed from the rear of the building. A very efficient way to do it. There is no real second floor to that fire bay because it's a two-story base space. So there's not two floors there. There's just a little bit where we have the mechanical and electrical room. On the police side, we need the Sally Port and we need the cell blocks. The cell blocks are what you're getting in trouble with the Department of Public Health year after year after year after year, and the Department of Public Safety. So that has to be in that new building. I just don't know where else we can cut. We've truly pared this down. I know it's a hard ask, and I wish we could do it within the levy limit and make it included debt. What you're experiencing, a lot of towns are experiencing as they chip away at included debt and go to excluded debt. I don't know. I really don't know what we can gain out of this. Because if we say we take 1,000 or 2,000 feet out of this building, we're going to lose 8 months, 6 to 8 months, and escalation is going to chew it up, and you're just going to get less of a program for the same bid coming in. We're at a point where you've got a hard bid, you're gonna have a payment and a performance bond, it's gonna guarantee that it's gonna come in at that price. So it's a decision that the public has to make. Do they want the public safety and the better run times for the fire department? Or is it, or do they not want to pay the tax?
So as an OPM, your firm opinion is that even if we were to cut 3,500, 4,000 square feet. And then have to go through the rebidding process, that if by the spring, any of those savings, that $3.5, $4 million could potentially be eaten up in escalation of project.
I believe a lot of it would be. I couldn't give you an exact number without seeing what we're cutting. Would have to completely redesign. If you took the fire bays out, sorry, Chief Doc Ray, but if we took the fire bays out and not continued with the recommendation from 1974, then you would have to redesign and put that space that's above the fire base into the police station. So now we're taking space out of the police department that we've already really squeezed to make the police department a modern police department that would function for the next 50 years. I mean, what you're saying is, what you've really done is, for the past 50 years, by not investing in your buildings, you've got the savings. Year after year after year, you've had the savings.
Spent $40,000 a year on 62 Elm, but we've like frittered away.
You didn't upgrade your buildings as you were going along, and unfortunately, it has to be done. I don't know of a more efficient way to do it.
Oh, we heard that before. I'm sorry that I say that, but I've heard all these things before. There's never a better way, never a better way. I don't buy that anymore. I never have.
Hey, Chief.
Hi there, can I jump in for a second?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure, I just want to remind everybody, we do not have a functional police station, we just don't. We have to do something. If we start lopping off appendages, as has been suggested, whether it's the fire station or the Sally Ports or whatever, we have to make up for that space. We have, as you guys probably realized on that tour the other day, we have stuff. We have, snow blowers, we
Got
have,
a lot of stuff.
yeah, we have a lot of stuff. We really do. What are we going to do with that? Do we put a shed in? Where does the shed go? How does that impact parking? We still have to have a place to put snow, to park cruisers, to park personal vehicles. It just doesn't make sense. And I dispute, I ask, Ralph, where did you get that $1 million figure for the data center?
That's what it said, right on your list.
I have not seen that. It's only a room, and the equipment that's being brought in there is just existing equipment.
It was on the list.
I just want to go on the record as disputing that $1 million number. I just don't see that happening. But let's say we take out the data center. I'm open to that, but the bottom line is you do not have a functional police station right now. That there's a ton of risk, and to keep on kicking this down the road, I don't advise that. I hear what you're saying, Ralph. You support this, but I see what you're doing. And this is just, we're at a level of insanity at this point, and this has to be addressed. Again, and I say that as the guy who's going to be the first one named in the lawsuit, as I always am. That's not hyperbole. That's how it works. We have to do something. The need for a police station is urgent. It is. We've put this off and put this off. I don't like the number either, but here we are. And it seems as though history is repeating itself. We have to do something.
It is. And at the risk of repeating myself, if it fails, you have nothing. That's the problem. If it fails, you have nothing.
Well, if it fails, the voters have spoken, and you know, it's sad, but you know, we do have, you know, we have to take care of our employees. You know, one of the moves we've made in the last few years was to leave civil service. So we're no longer a civil service town, and a lot of other towns have done that same thing. So in essence, we've created free agents. These officers, younger folks, a great majority of our department now is in their 20s, and they're not sticking around if they don't have a proper place, if they can't park, when they come to work, if they can't have a proper place to have lunch, if there's no place to sit down to put their boots on in the locker room, they're going to leave. It's just a fact. So you have to consider those costs, the costs we put forward to train an officer. We invest thousands and thousands of dollars into our personnel to recruit them, to hire them, to train them, and to retain them. It's a great deal for a place like Hingham, Scituate, or Marshfield. We lose officers all the time. We've lost officers to Scituate recently. We've lost officers to Marshfield. We've lost officers to other departments that just offer a better deal. We are competing. We're competing for the same pool of talent, and it's a wonderful deal for our neighbors because we're training these officers to a very high standard. We go through a lot of due diligence when we hire these folks, and we're going to lose them. We really are. So there's a cost to that. It's a soft cost, but there's a cost.
I could say something about all of that, but I'm not.
Please do.
When we voted out of civil service, maybe you could have made those comments, right? It wasn't transparent at that time. The two times we voted to take the police and fire out of civil service, you never said anything like that. That in fact, it changed the dynamic.
No, they could still transfer out into civil service. They could, but we had a little more control. We did have a little more control, but right now they are completely free agents. And these younger folks, they exercise that benefit or right.
I'm not opposing it. I'm just saying.
Well, again, I hear what you're saying, but I see what you're doing.
No one's offering anything that says to me, how do you solve the problem of a failure at town meeting or a failure at the ballot? You're not offering a question. No one's offering anything, right? Been through this before, right?
I have too.
We've been through this for years, asking the question, what's your alternative? What if it doesn't pass? What now? What now?
I've watched this play out for almost 40 years.
But the point is, the options are not, even for this, what you could do differently here are not there, right? Nothing is there. The initial proposal to the town was $10.4 million, right? You're 30 million. You're 30 million. That's a tripling practically of in fact what was said only a year ago.
I'm on the record as saying I am not responsible for that original number. I was not consulted. And I can speak for John as well.
If you don't get anything, right? The last time, the only way we got anything out of the town hall is because a few of us put our necks out about trying to renovate town hall and got shot down only to have it happen anyway, because we said there is an alternative, right?
Wait a second here. All right.
You don't have a functional police station right now.
I think at this point, like, I'm with you, Michelle. I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
I
was zoning out there
We've
for a
got the
second.
hero town hall here now.
No, we're not doing this.
Okay.
Not tonight.
Get back on this
Yeah,
track here.
it's.
But Ralph keeps talking about solutions. May I say something?
About
When we've looked at solutions and other alternatives, I've yet to see you come up with one. And secondly, in anything, I've yet to see you come up with a solution. I'm gonna say that out loud. All right, come up before the board.
I'm sorry,
But I'm saying that the solution is, we don't have real solutions. Because we put ourselves in this position. The town has. And
I,
so-
no, I understand your frustration is coming collectively from us kicking the can down the road. I just don't think we can put that on Ralph right
I'm
now.
not putting it on Ralph, Katie. What I'm saying is, I'm not putting the Ralph at all. I gave him due respect, as a matter of fact. Not that I got it returned. What I'm saying is, we put ourselves in a position. And Bill, and again, as a select board member, who came up because with best intentions on the $10.5 million, we've owned that. We did not come up before the town and spend bundles of money on site plans, designs, on a building that most likely would have been sold at the time. We also took into account the town hall iterations. We also took into account someone wanting to build up on property up on a ledge. All right, and rent it for $900,000 a year, or buy a new town hall for $14.5 million. I don't know if you remember that one. All right. One of the town hall plans. But, so we took into account a building at 2.5 that was centrally located. We looked at the 74 study. We looked at the 2016 study. All indications. Get something up on 3A. We did. $2.5 million that was under not so much a time crunch, but the builder wasn't gonna allow, the owner, I'm sorry, wasn't gonna allow us to do testing, site testing and everything along those lines. We didn't have it. But instead of spending millions on plans and architectural drawings for a building that may not have come to pass, we took a shot. And the best guess, Bose and Woodman, came in at 10.5. And so, again, the select board, or this member of the select board, along with the former chair, sat in front of you and owned up to that. It was done with the best intentions, no intent to mislead. Because I don't like to sit in front of you right now trying to re-explain it for the 10th time. And to take out operating budgets and things like that, well, you know, I have to say, if we have to start cutting, you're gonna be cutting a heck of a lot more than free just from your kindergarten. It's the genesis of a lot of the problems, and if we look at some of the compromises that we have you looked at that board? That was presented by a citizen? Everything politely rebutted to a degree, but some accepted. So I'll leave it at that, all right? And as far as town hall goes, I'll leave it at the fact that, no, there was a group that got together and tried to think outside the box. In other words, getting the nonprofits to restore our town hall so we can have a prom, so we can have voting, so we can have the old town feel. It wasn't about building up in front of it, behind on a rock in front of it, behind it, and letting it go. And renting that for $900,000 or buying it for 14.5, as was advocated by a certain group.
Well,
That's it. I apologize for that, but that's going to the meeting and going to what happened with this building.
so I think we should close discussion on public safety. I do want to get practical with this committee because we haven't asked from the select board. We have a series of votes that we need to take. So let me just lay out where my head is at, and this is what my husband hates, but this is how my brain operates. So he's always like, well, there's time. I'm like, no, sweetie, look at the calendar. There's not time. So I don't mean to rush this, but I do want to lay out the realities of what we're facing. We've got a meeting on the books for next Monday that I want to take a poll of how many of our members are going to be there. By my count, right now, we have to vote electric buses, trench drain, sewer, and we have to hear the schools and talk about the MSBA Article 5. So we've got 5 votes that we should take, or excuse me, 4 votes that we should take next week. The next meeting that we have after that is October 6th, and that is like the drop deadline for when we would have to take a vote for public safety. Because well, it's not the drop deadline, but it is a deadline because the warrant will go to print on the 10th. We could continue debating and we could do what I think you've done in the past. At town meeting. We could put it in the motions at town meeting. But basically, we have 2 meetings before we have to sort of wrap up.
Got the RTF?
We don't vote the RTF. We do not vote, at least I don't think we vote the RTF. There's only 3 articles that we are voting. We are voting Article 4, Article 5, which is school roof, and Article 6, which is public safety, and everything else is for advisory. And realistically, if we don't vote public safety. Typically advisory and select board won't vote until they get our vote. So if we delay our vote, that means that we delay all the boards above us unless they want to take a vote without the recommendation of capital, which has not been precedent. So that's sort of where we sit from a timeline perspective. So my personal recommendation is that we have the meeting, if at all possible, next Monday and get through some of the votes that we should be able to get through. From DPW, from the schools and from sewer. And then pick up this conversation and have a practical conversation about what, if anything, we can come back and recommend. Back to the town, back to the select board. Because we're gonna be facing the following week, whether we vote or punt on voting until.
When you say sewer, you mean water?
There is, so sorry, there is one, if you look at the, and this was my apologies, because I didn't notice this, but, and believe me, I'm trying to stay on top of this, but like you
I
said,
appreciate it.
it changed. Sewer retained earnings, is now doing another grant match that is popped up in our, so when you open the warrant article, you see Article 4, this is the one that like, we need to have a vote on every single one of these items. The line item for sewer out of sewer retained earnings like literally appeared in the last
Okay.
24 hours, and I let Brian Joyce go before we could question him on it. So we've had 4 things that we've got to vote. We voted one of them, or 3, or we voted one of them tonight. We'll have to vote Article 5, which is the MSBA, and then we've got the big Mac Daddy, Article 6. So how do people feel? So I guess for Monday, my recommendation is to do it hybrid, because I think you may be traveling.
Have a new grandson.
Congratulations.
No, that's great.
That's right.
It's
That's why I thought you weren't the other day.
yes.
That's worth.
No, I was on vacation the other day, but I've been on that tour many times.
Yeah, even an impromptu one this summer.
Since 1998, when I moved there, I think I've been on it 6 or 7 times.
Will you have a quorum on Monday?
So if Susan could attend remotely, I can attend. Ralph, you can,
I can,
are you available, in person or remote?
yes.
Okay. And then Kathy, what's your availability next Monday?
Yes, I can attend remotely.
Okay. So we've got 2 remote and 3 in person. That's great. Chris is still traveling, so we're gonna have to catch him back up. But he will be back for the 6th. And then the meeting on the 6th is kind of our catch-all in terms of public safety. If possible, I want to sort of walk people through sort of where we stand with the capitalization roll forward, because to your point, Ralph, we're sort of operating without a balance sheet right now. But the town accountant is updating that, so it's not going to answer all your questions in terms of like how much we have to spend, but it will answer some of them. And then, obviously we can vote or not vote public safety on the 6th, on October 6th. That's a plan, as it were.
Well, I think the situation on the 6th is gonna determine how much we get through on the next meeting, and what we can accomplish on the next meeting is gonna be dependent on what we can find out between now and that meeting happening. So thoughts that you might have about cutting, we should probably take a look and
See what I can do.
and put those questions forth.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, and I think the town answering back on what incorporating the debt or some portion of the debt would look like,
Yeah, I know we all dislike this exercise, but it's actually a very good exercise to go through.
We'll get your answers. And Ralph, if you want to meet and go through the plans together, I mean,
Sure.
we have the big plans up here, we can go through them.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Okay.
Just give you a call.
and then the only other thing that I
Well,
promised.
3 days, but 2 days. Thursday and Friday. Sure.
I promised the chief that I would pull everybody on the field trip to Marshfield, so for Kathy and Susan, when we went through the 62 Elm, I think the conclusion was that the flow is so foobar that you can't even understand what a normal police department would look like. And so the chief offered up a tour of the Marshfield. Is it a combined public safety or is it just the police station, chief?
Sorry, it is just, it's police and EOC, and you know, I haven't asked the Marshfield chief yet, but he's very good. And once we get a date identified, you know, I'm sure he'll help us out in any way. But he's offered before, but that is definitely would probably be beneficial to folks.
So we were talking about trying to squeeze that in next week, just because more perspective, the better. But Kathy, you're away, and Susan, you're away. So how do you feel about that? Or would you rather push it to the following week?
I'm out on the 6th, the week of the 6th, I'm out.
And I can do the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd of October.
Oh, you can do the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then let's try and
First would be best.
I can do 1st in the morning, but I've got a
Day of the week?
that's Wednesday morning, the 1st. I could do Thursday morning, the 2nd in the morning, and I could do Friday, the 3rd in the morning. So I could do mornings on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Mornings are probably best for them, I'm assuming.
Mostly Thursdays, I've ever been. Yeah, either one.
Okay.
Friday, questionable.
You know, Wednesday or Friday is fine with me, but the Thursday is tough.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm going, so. okay.
Possible.
Yeah, any of those dates in the mornings are fine with me.
So I guess the preference would be Wednesday, October 1st in the morning.
Yeah.
With a backup, Rob, of
Friday.
Friday, the 3rd in the morning.
Yeah. Take care.
Good night.
Thanks, chief.
No problem. I'll take care. I'll get back to you.
Okay,
Answer.
thank you.
When you say morning, what is morning to you?
Yeah, I get up at 5:30, so.
I expected nothing less. I'm with you.
Out the door until like 7, but like, so morning is early for me. For you guys, Ralph and Rob, like what?
I get up early.
What hour are you talking about?
I would suggest probably 10 a.m.-ish.
Okay.
That's usually
I
pretty
don't want to
safe.
interview with shift change, like that is not a time to like.
Yeah, that's 10 a.m., 9:30, 10 a.m. would get you away from the shift changes.
Okay, that's great. Then I think that works for everybody. If one of those days might work for the chief in Marshfield. And thank you for arranging that.
No problem. It's my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Okay. We did the minutes.
Just talk about the agendas.
Yep. Any member updates? I've got nothing at this hour.
The only thing I'd suggest.
Yep.
Is for not this town meeting, the next town meeting in the spring.
Yeah.
We really should revise our questionnaire at very least to get it out of Excel and into Word, obviously, right?
Okay.
And number 2, take a look at the questions and I can do this, I talked about doing it before. Look at the questions we now ask. What have we asked in the past and how would you change if you would change anything, okay?
Okay.
And put it into a Word format where in fact it's appropriate.
Okay. I'll put that on the future agenda, because I think there's 2 things, like for Kathy and for Rob, there's sort of 2 things that once we get through this like gauntlet of fire, and it truly is a gauntlet of fire, but it's even worse this year. It's like a double gauntlet of fire. Annual town meeting feels a little bit better in that we first organize ourselves by liaison so that we'll pair up, so we're non-quorum, and really go out to the town departments and gather information. So it's going to be liaisons out, gathering information, bringing it back to the committee so that we're basically have a lot of information and pre-work done before we get to the presentations around the actual ask.
I don't think that's good. That's the old, that's something that we used to have the presentations, then we go out, right? It's the reverse. And the reason for that is that you want the whole committee to get the presentation and then the liaisons to go out and actually seek the additional information that's being sorted out. The other way, it feels as though the person who is the liaison becomes the advocate for the.
That's right.
For the department, and the department is not making the pitch anymore. So pitch ought to be to all of us at once, and then the liaisons go on. That's just the way we always used to do it.
I will,
It's a good way to do it.
my only objection is that we're gonna get crap for information at those presentations. I'll just be very flat out. Like, if you go to the schools and say, come present, you're gonna get 100 items with crappy detail. I can't tell you the amount of time that Corey and I spent making sure that you guys got information that was actually.
Yeah, I think the
Useful.
school example does work out better that way because they come forward with so many items. And we did get really good information because of them being involved in the process there. But I hear your point too, Al. But we've always worried about what kind of information we're gonna get. And I thought that over the last couple of years, we basically told people that don't come before us if we don't have the supporting information. And Michelle, I think you've pushed the departments towards those systems. Yeah, I mean,
We sent out the request, we gave them a deadline, and we told them again, that if they don't meet our deadline, then they'll provide the information, their request won't be heard, so. That's all we can really do. We try to give them the templates. I mean, we've revised the templates several times over the course of so many years. I think that's the spreadsheet you're talking about. It depends on the makeup of the board and what everyone wants to see. So if it's time to revise that, then we should. Revise.
yeah,
So it's getting late. Can we move on and discuss this and set this up?
I think we'll have to discuss that in terms of like how we get the information and how we set up meetings, meeting deadlines. So, okay.
I think everyone's turn.
Yep.
All right then. Well, thank you, everybody, for your input tonight, participation.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Robert. Thank you, board. Thanks.
Aye.
Second. Aye. No, thanks. Thank you.